Worried about letting someone else pick out the perfect avocado for your perfect impress them on the third date guacamole? Well, good thing Instacart shoppers are as picky as you are. They find ripe avocados like it's their guac on the line. They are milk expiration date detectives. They bag eggs like the 12 precious pieces of cargo they are. So let Instacart shoppers overthink your groceries so that you can overthink what you'll wear on that third date. Download the Instacart app today to get free delivery on your first 3 orders, while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
Okay, it's time to commit. 2024 is the year for prioritizing yourself. Begin your new smile journey with Byte, and you could start seeing results in just 2 to 3 weeks. Just order your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95 at Byte.com. Byte clear liners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces, plus they offer financing options, accept eligible insurance, and you could pay with your HSA, FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
You better not have no plans tonight.
Movie time and it's feeling right.
You're looking for a love that lasts. You'll find it at Romance in the Podcast. Ooh, ooh, baby, you had me at hello. Ooh, I love you.
I know.
Ooh, ooh, baby, you're the wind beneath my wings. Ooh, ah, I'll have what she's having.
Thank you for tuning into Romancing the Pod. You had us at hello. I'm Paige Wesley.
And I'm Todd Schlosser. And this week, we have a very special guest joining us,
Jeff May!
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Jeff May is here, coming at you live at 5. We've got traffic on the 8s, and we've got a wonderful time coming up. We got tickets to Bon Jovi's coming into the locals. Oh.
Speaking of Bon Jovi, he just saved someone on a bridge here in town.
I know!
Did he?
I mean, yeah. Mikey got real butthurt about it. He was like, I saved 60 or 70 people and no one notices. And Bon Jovi saves one and he gets all the press.
Imagine that, like you're about to, like, you're like, I'm going to do it. And then all of a sudden, the guy's like, hey, man, it's me, Bon Jovi. And I'd be like, I'd be like, maybe I'm on PCP.
Right?
Because Muhammad Ali did that once where he like convinced a guy to come up there. And like anytime somebody that famous is like doing that, you kind of have to be like,
Are they an angel? Like, what is this?
It would feel like you'd be like, all right, we're in a simulation. Like if you're one of those people that thinks you're in a simulation and then, you know, like Russell Crowe saves you from a burning building, you'd be like, okay, we are
in a simulation.
But listen, I would be entertained by that. So nailed it.
Sure.
Like, you know how we have people do Make-A-Wish? Instead, we just have celebrities that are on call, like Mikey, and they just show up. And you're just like, what? Nancy Grace?
You're combining the movie, The Game, and the Make-A-Wish Foundation? I love it.
Yeah.
Imagine how much it must suck for that guy that now he has to say he likes Bon Jovi.
Yeah, because he's like, he saved my life.
He's just like, now I gotta listen to fucking Always again? Jeez.
I was living for sadness and now I'm living on a prayer.
I'm just shocked that he didn't walk up and be like, listen, lady, you're already over the rail. You're like halfway there.
Yeah. What do you say when you're Bon Jovi? How do you relate? By the way, it's like, come on, man. You know you want to get back in your $80,000 Dodge Viper and you want to drive back to your $1 million mansion.
You want to call the owner of your arena football team and cuss him out some more?
Yeah, because you're wanted, mostly alive.
Okay, new plan. Here's my new plan. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to fake that I'm on the edge, right?
Okay.
I'm going to like do it. And then when they come up, I'll be like, can I have $20,000? And if they say no, I will kill myself.
Oh, no.
Oh, hey, I don't even know what we're talking about right now. We should say we watched The Fall Guy for this episode.
Woo!
And
yes.
Was this the first time either of you had seen this movie?
This was my first time.
Correct.
Because, Todd, I love you. I had low expectations today because you have led us astray many times. And my mom saw this movie and was like, it was all right. And I was like, oh no. And then when I saw this movie, it fucking ripped. And there's 1.5 million inside industry
I know.
jokes in it that I'm like,
I knew you'd like it.
yeah.
I wasn't worried about you. I was worried about Jeff.
Here's what I will say. Within 3 weeks, I'm going to forget I've ever seen this movie.
Oh, that's what makes it great, though, because you can watch it again and be like, damn, I forgot about this scene altogether.
It is, if I can put it in comparison to another movie, which I think is fair, it is like, what if Tropic Thunder had no teeth whatsoever?
Yes.
And I did not hate, I want you to know that I did not enjoy myself. I enjoyed myself watching this movie. And then it was just, I etch-a-sketched my brain. Like, you're going to talk about scenes in here, and I'm just going to be like, yeah, that probably happened.
Sure.
That sounds plausible. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that at all.
No, I know stuntmen. Like, Paige, do you know stuntmen? You know a couple,
yeah,
right?
I know many stuntmen. Yes. Yeah, I do believe they should be eligible for Oscars. And
fact
that's
that they're
one of
not.
It's crazy to me that they can't.
Yeah.
And yet breakdancing made it to the Olympics.
And yeah, breakdancing made it.
Why isn't there a best stunts Oscar? That doesn't make any sense to me.
That's a question that's been asked for literal decades. Yeah.
Sure.
Because the Academy is against modernization in a number of ways, and that is one of them.
Ah, yes. Stunts, the thing that is not getting destroyed by CGI.
I'm like, they will go out of their way to try and award and reward CGI and even AI in some cases, and yet still not recognize stunts, which have been a part of the film industry since the film industry existed.
Buster Keaton, baby. Like, yeah. Like,
It is one of those things. And I remember, do you guys know he's a very, very well-known stuntman and actor, Daniel Barnard?
Not personally, but I know of him, yes.
I've hosted panels for him before. Mm-hmm. The things that man has gone through. For those of you that don't know, he was in The Matrix. He was one of the agents. Yep. Famously, Barry, the kickboxer.
No shit.
Yeah.
Is that him?
That's him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
The stories he's said about what has happened to his body.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there and you're just like, fucking, these actors could never.
Would never.
Tom Cruise could, and Jackie Chan could, but because Jackie Chan's a stuntman, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise wants to die.
Yeah, I think maybe. Jean-Claude Van Damme also notably did a lot of his own stunts, but again, he started as a stunt coordinator.
Stunts for cocaine is what.
Yeah, stunts for cocaine, 100%. But that's why the dog in this is named Jean-Claude.
The Fall Guy is a very fun movie, but predictably formulaic.
Oh yeah, I mean it's still like a rom-com. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an action comedy with a romance element in it. Yeah.
Action adventure rom-com. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I remember, like, as I'm watching this, I'm like, to figure out the plot as soon as you meet who the two villains are, as soon as you see who's playing them, you're like, oh, okay, I know exactly what happened. And I was pretty fucking close.
Yeah, I was pretty close too.
It telegraphs its shots pretty, it might as well Babe Ruth calling it shot. Like, you see it and you're like, okay, all right, we know what's going to happen here.
It does, but I'm also here for a solid 1 hour and 45 minutes of this movie of just being like, aren't actors fucking idiots? I'm just like, hell yeah, sometimes they are, man. Let's go.
Did you see the posters of all the movies they had done? Like,
yes.
Those posters were so the only one that sticks out to me right now is Bad Cop, Good Dog. And that shit made me laugh so hard.
It's very 30 Rock, yeah.
Oh, yes. It is very 30 Rock. You're right.
It is, where with Who Dat Ninja and Honky Grandma Be Trippin'.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part, though, I think Jeff will probably empathize with why this is so funny to me. When they go through the videos on his phone, there's one of him just in a fur coat into his bathroom mirror doing Shakespeare. Yes. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize it was Self-Tape Sundays. He's just a fucking ridiculous asshole.
We love a self-tape. It's funny, for those of you that are not aware, because I don't think it was addressed, but it was something that we had a conversation about, which was, which version are we covering?
Yeah.
The theatrical or the extended? The answer is theatrical, and for a very simple reason is the amount of 20 more minutes of content.
There does not need to be 20 more minutes in this movie. I stand by that.
Yeah, I totally watched the extended, and I loved it.
Okay.
It's mainly just longer action sequences, although I think there are some added plot points that don't matter, like really don't matter. I honestly think I can sum it up for you in like one little quick sentence.
Sure.
You see Tom Ryder order the death of Kevin, and a few other people that were in on the plan, but at a lower level.
Okay.
When they're at the boat and they're about to set him on fire, that's pretty much the only like dialogue that was added.
So
The rest
completely
is just
unnecessary.
Longer, yeah, it's just longer action scenes, and which is nice.
Which that's
It's
not
great.
bad actually.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
It's obviously the movie is very meta. It's very meta about the process of creating film.
I also like the way it looks at like the way I think a lot of guys react to like trauma sometimes, and they completely withdraw from the relationship, and it's like what it's like when a relationship falls apart because of that, and like all the stages of going and winning that person back, but very heightened because of the premise of the movie. Like it's like, you know, he's a stuntman and we're playing that out. So like I really like the way they're pointing that out with the movie they're directing as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of 30 Rock.
Yes.
That movie looks like one of those movies that they would feature on like a what culture list of like movies you can't believe are actually happening.
Yes.
And then they would talk about how like the principal actor was found in murder and conspiracy and all that, and yet they just got a different actor.
Yep. A space werewolf on rollerblades, like that kind of.
That's pretty close. I mean, it's
Played by Channing Tatum.
Jason Momoa looks a bit like a werewolf, so
The
not
fact
too
that
far
they
off,
used the Dune music,
I
I was
loved
on
it.
the floor. I was laughing so hard.
It was like a combo of Dune and like Mad Max.
They were making Bad Dune, yeah.
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 Yeah, so this movie, for lack of a better term, if you guys did not see this movie,
Sure.
which is fine. There's one speech you'd walk out and be like, okay.
Yeah.
Where he's like on the phone.
It is like definitely a popcorn movie.
Close to a dad movie.
It is a dad movie, 100%. I
Almost.
feel like
Yeah.
it is, if you work in the industry, there's a lot of jokes for you. And I do think that Tropic Thunder is the funnier version of a lot of those jokes because it is the meaner and more insightful version. But I will also say that what this does really well is basically showcase the best that the stunt world has to offer.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you just like watching stunts, it's worth the price of admission. Like it's amazing.
Yes.
When they show you those credit stunts, and they did get that world record for the spins, the car spins.
Yes.
Making this movie. So that's a very meta
Yes.
in of itself to have that.
I like that they included that at the end. Like the end credits are sort of like a loving homage to the stuntmen that made this movie possible. And I think that's great.
And also very important to note, they made a Kiss song important.
I was just going to bring this up, Jeff.
The only song they have that's good.
Yeah. I was made for loving you.
That's a good song from a band that is brilliant at marketing and bad at music.
Right.
That's very fair.
But that song being like the touchstone of the entire film is fascinating to me.
It is, but this is one that I always forget is Kiss. And then when it like kicked in this movie, I was like, oh, all right. Are we going to get like a Guardians of the Galaxy kind of soundtrack to this movie? And then it was just that song over and over and over again with a beautiful non-diegesis, diegetic Phil Collins sprinkled in the middle of it.
Right.
And by the end of the movie, I was fucking fist pumping to
I know.
that Kiss song.
It's great.
They nailed it.
It's like,
I also want to point out that they do include almost all of I Believe in a Thing Called Love by the Darkness.
They do.
And then immediately talk about karaoke, which is that's my go-to song at karaoke. I was like, this movie's made for me.
Nice.
You're going to bake in like how sometimes men withdraw when they experience trauma and how that like impacts relationships in a movie about stunts, which I also love and include like rock. Hell yeah. I'm in this.
I have also sung that Phil Collins song at karaoke. It's a fucking banger.
Against All Odds. It's such a good song. Yeah, man.
I sing Christmas Shoes.
Oh,
And it does not matter what time of the year I am singing it.
any season.
And I try to get the crowd to clap along when there's not much time. I try to get like a whole like audience clap along. And what that does is effectively ruin everyone's night.
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Oh God, that's terrible in the best way.
Thank you.
What's your second song? Butterfly Kisses.
It's Tears in Heaven, Paige.
Amazing. Oh my God, Christmas. Sorry, I'm just picturing it.
I'm clearly going to have to Google Christmas shoes.
Dude, are you not familiar with Christmas shoes?
No.
Oh my
Todd,
God.
don't Google. Yeah, YouTube it and just listen. Like, close your eyes and listen to it. Just absorb it.
Todd, I'll give you a TLDR because I know you're not going to do that. Christmas Shoes is a song sung from the point of view of a little girl.
No, a man at a store
A man at a store. That's what it is.
at like Macy's or something.
And it's because they're like his daughter has like saved up money to buy shoes for her mom who is dying of cancer so that she can have nice shoes for Christmas.
Very close.
Right? Okay.
You're about 80% there.
Okay.
This is a man who is a bystander, and he
Got
is
it.
watching a young boy trying
that's
to
what
buy
it is.
nice shoes for his mother for Christmas,
For Christmas.
in case she meets Jesus tonight.
In case she goes to
Holy
dance with Jesus tonight.
Shit.
And there's this whole part where like, cause there's not much time. And the way the chorus hits, it has you can get a clap along going. I noticed it when I
Yes.
heard it one time and I was like, dude, the way he threads this chorus, you could get like a crowd. And I would like,
Slow
so when I do it, I like start holding the mic out to the crowd to do the not much time stuff. Like I really do treat it like I'm at a concert trying to get the crowd to get like sing along to my number one hit. And that number one hit is Christmas Shoes. And it is June or whatever. Like, and then I'll just leave. Like I will, it's like a grenade. I pull the pin, I toss it, I leave, and the explosion happens. The person who follows it is that, they have to do like, my name is Ticka Slim Shady or whatever.
They have to walk up and be like, well, that was weird. Well, here's
Ronald with She Hates Me. Yeah, she fucking hates me.
exactly. Not to refocus us back on the movie, but there are a lot of really long shots in this movie that I really fucking love.
Oh, yeah.
The guy who directed this, I love the style of it, but maybe we should just go through it scene by scene because I watched the 2-hour and 27-minute version.
So we open on Kiss. And I was like, this is a good opening song. And the opening credits are actually really cool because they're like the call sheet and like other things you would see on set.
Well, and you also hear like the radio of them like setting up for the stunt they're about to do,
Right.
It's great.
And we get a cheap voiceover of like, you're probably wondering how I ended up here.
It's 1000% that though. Like it is.
Yeah, but it's like, we're the stunt guys. We take all the hits and whatever. And it's like cool stunt after cool stunt after cool stunt.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's me, Colt. And that's Jody, the camera operator that I'm super into. They have some cool love story. But then he's doing a stunt and they're like, your face is in too much of the stunt. And Aaron Taylor Johnson, doing his best McConaughey, is like, yeah, I think we're going to have to take it a second time.
Aaron Taylor Johnson is a delight in this movie.
I think he's amazing in it. He's a great villain.
He's an underappreciated actor.
I think so too.
He was great in Bullet Train.
Bullet
He's great
Train,
in
so
this.
good.
He's probably going to try his best at Craven.
I'm going to go see it. I don't care.
He does a great Tom Cruise impression most of this movie. And then when he's actually in the movie that they're filming, when he's like filming a scene for Moonstruck or whatever this movie is,
Metal Storm.
He's playing like Tom Cruise doing an impression of Matthew McConaughey.
Yes.
Because I feel like when he's not on camera, that sounds weird, but like not performatively on camera filming for Megastorm or whatever the movie is. He's just pretending to be Tom Cruise.
He's just being a dipshit.
Yeah, I mean, he is sort of a dipshit. You're right.
And then when the cameras are rolling,
he's Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
But like this whole thing is one long shot. Like it's literally from the way they said, even do it in the credits, it's like you're hearing the radio in real time. So it like sort of sets the pace of them getting into this.
It's like a fool's tracking shot. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so good though. Like you see Ryan Gosling walking onto set and then him being like, oh, I guess I have to shoot it again. And then him having like a little cute moment with Jody.
Wearing like an X-Men outfit.
Well, no, it says NASA on it.
Oh, it says
It's
NASA,
like,
yes.
Yeah. It's like a NASA jacket.
It looks like a space X-Man, yeah.
Yes, it does. It's like black and yellow.
You know, the colors of NASA.
Yeah, the Pittsburgh NASA Steelers.
I do like the way that they're like setting up where they want to end the movie.
Yeah.
You know, like these two people should be together and we know something's going to happen that's like pulls them apart. But I like that over the course of this movie, it's like them finding a way back to each other.
It's important for everybody to note that they were made for loving them.
Yes.
Yeah.
But literally from the first shot of the movie until we see Ryan Gosling fall right before the stunt and you hear sort of like, oh my God. And like it cuts to him in the ambulance. Like it's all one shot. It's like a 4-minute shot. It's so cool.
They also have the smash cuts of him making out with her. Like they add little spots of like how they have
Yeah, it's just really quick.
a beautiful thing burgeoning. Nothing could possibly go wrong.
We do also, very importantly, meet our big bad, who is Gale. And Gail is a hodgepodge of every producer I've ever met.
I love Gail in this movie, though. Like, so morally ambiguous as to not really seem real. It's just like exactly what I would think of as a like high level producer.
Oh, this woman, Gail, in this movie walks around with conservatively a bucket of Diet Coke the entire time.
Yeah.
Because you are more likely to find Diet Coke on any set in any crafty than any other beverage in Los Angeles.
Good.
It is the city's beverage of choice.
Just having our bones dissolve.
Just slowly liquefied in our... It's just Diet Coke and Fiji water.
It is the weirdest thing, and I hate to say it in a negative way, but it's just like this place is lousy with gorgeous people.
Yep.
I get back home to Boston, I was like, yes, the land of sarcastic, ugly people.
I was just in Boston last month. That's accurate.
Oh, yeah.
And I love Boston.
When you get onto like the shuttles at Logan, they're like, where you going? And I was like, Hertz? They're like, Hertz, are you sure? And Hertz or Enterprise? Show me your phone. Like they're trying to make sure you don't screw up, but they're like calling you an asshole while you're doing it.
I literally had that experience getting to National Rent-A-Car. They were like, don't you mean Enterprise? I can't do a British accent. I'm so sorry. But like, yeah. And I was like, no, it's National. And then
a British accent? We're New England, Todd.
Yeah.
New England.
I can't do any accent. It's terrible. It always ends up Australian. But either way, we argued. I was like, no, it's National. And he was like, nah, it's Enterprise or whatever. I can't do Boston. But they were at the same place. He was yelling at me and they were at the same place.
He was right.
I wasn't wrong. My stance was, I don't know. I need to go to National. And he kept yelling Enterprise at me.
Todd, accept the fact that he knew what was up.
Yeah. Loved Boston, though. Great people. Because, like, even though he was yelling at me, I never felt threatened. It was like, nah, it's Enterprise. Like, he was just like...
You were being threatened.
Well, I mean, possibly, but I'm too dumb to recognize it.
That is the base. The undercurrent of all conversations in Boston is that it could break out in a fist fight at any time.
I mean, much like the producer in this movie where stirring her ice in her Diet Coke is also a threat.
It's very funny because when I saw her in there, I was like, oh, she's going to be the bad guy. Because, you know.
Yeah.
Because you do know. Like,
she's playing a flighty good guy, but she's Hannah Waddingham.
You're right.
She has a penchant for looking two things, sinister and unbelievably hot.
Yeah.
I'll take your word on that one.
Paige, she's an attractive lady.
Great. Good for her.
One thing that made me sad was she's actually an amazing singer. And I was hoping that we'd get like some of her singing in the karaoke. And we didn't, unfortunately. But that probably would have humanized her character too much because she is the big bad, more or less.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, her and Tom are sort of the big bads. They're sort of in on it together, I guess.
She's the big bad with the brain.
Yeah. They are Pinky and the brain. She is the brain.
Yeah. I just feel like Tom is also very self-interested, you know?
Well, he's an actor, yeah.
Yeah.
They tend to be.
Yeah. It's like literally their job.
Their job is to play make-believe.
Yeah, you don't have to be a prick.
Oh, that's not what I'm saying. I mean, like, worrying about their image is important because that is their job.
Yes. I think what I'm more getting at is actors come in different stripes, right? Like, yes, being concerned about your image is part of it because that's part of the job. But there's a difference between being concerned about how you look and trying to make sure you could do your job well and being a self-involved prick, which is actors come in two stripes. They either are like the coolest people you ever meet who are just like, yeah, I play make-believe and I'm really lucky that I get to do that as a job.
I know, right?
Or Aaron Taylor Johnson's character in this movie where they are a fucking nightmare all the time.
They literally caused the accident that like leads to the beginning of this movie because he was featured in a Variety article as one of a top 10 list.
Yeah.
And like he thought that his stuntman was stealing his thunder because of a top 10 list on Variety.
That's also the top 10 list is only in the extended cut.
Yeah,
That's
I was
not
like,
in
what
the
the fuck
regular
you talking
cut.
about, man?
Oh, no
Yeah.
shit. Okay, so that's also part of it then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in the version we watched, he was just like, you kept getting in the shot, man.
Oh, yeah, he says that too. In the extended cut, it is literally just a Variety article. I was like, a print article? You think people are going to read a print article?
Variety is very important in the industry, Todd. People still actively read that in Deadline constantly.
Sure, but like, Paige, are you saying that he should have killed his stuntman for that?
Yes.
Like, it's insane. Jeff, I knew because I phrased it that way you'd say that.
You can't just be like, a print article? No, that is a big deal, but it's not a reason to kill somebody.
Right.
Actors can be sociopaths.
I think you'll find a lot of high-powered people in a lot of industries are sociopaths.
Dude, the amount of celebrity chefs that I had to work with, there was one where I had to I was a pretty low level, but he was like so rude to me that I finally was like, hey man, did I do something wrong?
Yeah. And he's like, no.
He's like, what? He was like shocked that I called him out. I'm like, you're being really mean to me. I didn't do anything wrong. Like,
yeah.
is there anything I can fix?
That seems like the nicest way to quote call someone out, Jeff. So like, congrats. Like,
but also like I was a PA in my 30s because I had just moved out here.
Yeah.
And everybody else was in their 20s and they were taught to take shit.
yeah.
And I was a dude from Massachusetts in his 30s. So I'm like, oh man, are we good or do we have to like fight? And then I'll just get fired? Like that's...
You're like, hey, listen, I know where the Enterprise is, all right?
Yeah, you weren't 22-year-old Paige Wesley who's just like, I guess I will make an ice cream social happen at 2 in the morning. Thank you.
Paige, were you Paige Wesley?
I know a PA, a production assistant. I was a production assistant.
Christina Tosi not only was nice to me, she made me a needlepoint and mailed it to me as well as a bunch of stuff from Momofuku Milk Bar.
Oh.
But she like got my address and then needlepoint stitched me a little piece of dynamite because she liked my tattoo.
Oh.
Bro, did she like have a crush on you? Like, that's really sweet.
I'm realizing as I'm explaining that might have been the case.
Yeah.
Dude, you should lock that down.
I like a lot of people. I've never crocheted shit for nobody.
I mean, it probably didn't seem too hard to do. It was a red stick with a little boom and an explosion, but it was very kind of her. She was super nice.
Yeah.
Maybe you should call her is all I'm saying. I don't know what your situations are, but like, figure it out.
I think she lives 3,000 miles away.
Yeah, she does live in New York. But cutting back to this movie, Gail, bucket of Diet Coke, very stereotypical producer. The only more accurate version of a studio executive is Tropic Thunder, and it is Tom Cruise.
She looks a little bit like a Jerry Lewis character toned down.
A little bit, yeah.
I do love her as an actress. I think she's great, and she's a great villain in this.
Oh, so
is
good.
Tropic Thunder a rom-com? I didn't think Tropic Thunder was a rom-com.
No, there's no romance in it.
Okay. You guys just keep saying it's like the funnier version of this.
It is. It is the funnier version of this.
But it's not even the same genre.
Yes, it is. They're both action comedies.
Tropic Thunder, yes, it has problematic pieces of it. I understand. But its primary goal is to basically mock the film industry in a very similar way that this movie does.
Interesting. Okay.
But in a much more incisive and direct way. But I also feel like part of that is this movie is a lot more stunt focused.
Yeah.
So it is blatant about a lot of specific
That's what I was gonna say.
action movie versions of it, but it still stops short of calling it out.
They call out a lot of pay stuff that stunt guys go through.
Yes.
And they called it a bunch. And that's why I was like, I don't think the Tropic Thunder correlation works for me because I don't necessarily see this as like a action comedy that's making fun of the movie industry. I see it as like a...
That's 100% what it is.
Yeah, so I see it differently. I see it as like a rom-com that is also making fun of sort of the production of movies and the communities that build up around that.
Okay, but here's the thing. 'Cause you're not wrong in the fact that this has rom-com elements, but like just because a movie has a romantic element in it doesn't necessarily make it a rom-com. Like
Right.
I wouldn't call Airplane a rom-com. Like these are
Right.
movies where there is a romance where they might get together, break up, and get back together or whatever, and it's like all that. But that's really just a studio note or a trope that they're going through just to get these jokes or this action through. And so of all the action rom-coms that you've covered, I think this is actually, I wouldn't even classify it as a rom-com, really.
That's insane to me because when the tragedy happens, there's a clear emotional through line of like avoidance and emotional withdrawal. And then he like decides to like move and like put himself back out there again. They do sort of have to face the trauma of what happened to him and their past. They have to together take these risks together, and then at the end they're together.
That's fair.
Like there is a very emotional arc to this movie. It's fair that you didn't see it. I don't know that everyone would, but because this is my trauma cycle, this movie was for me, man. Because I saw all of those steps in shit that I've done.
I mean, I'm in the middle with it because I will say that a lot of the romance elements are what drive points in the story, at least for Ryan Gosling's character.
Yeah.
That it is him ultimately trying to be with her. That said, I do think that is in the movie. I do think the main focus of this movie is making fun of the industry.
I know, that's interesting to me that you think that that's the main focus. I completely disagree.
Whereas I'm actually going to give you guys the third option.
Yeah, go for it.
The main focus is to make sick actions and stunts.
That is true.
Oh,
yeah,
I bet that's actually what it is. It was some guy who was like, I want to do record-breaking stunts and just make a movie so stunt-loving.
But you can't do that unless you have the other stuff. You know what? It can be this. It's a very Buddhist way of viewing it. We can be like, this movie exists on different planes for different people, depending on how they consume it.
All art is that way.
In
Yeah.
a way, as much as I don't necessarily consider this film to be high art, that is a good sign of art, that it can be interpreted in multiple ways. You're Rashomaning your own plot, for God's sake.
Yeah, that's fair.
I do think you're right, though, with what you said at the beginning, Jeff. Like, it is a popcorn movie at face value.
It's candy.
That's
this
all
movie
it
is candy, yeah.
Anyway, let's get more through
Yeah,
this movie.
let's push into it.
Anyway, so we set up that Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt are gonna maybe flirt, maybe go out for a date, maybe do whatever. He goes to do this new stunt and he's gonna have to do it backwards. And we get the shot of his fun NASA jacket, hilarious. And then
Yeah.
a shot over his shoulder where we see just how high that drop is. And then he falls. We hear the screams. We see that they're carrying him away on a gurney. And then we cut to 8 months later.
It's 18 months later.
Yes, 18 months later.
That would be a hell of a repair, real
Hell
fast.
of a recovery.
I would like to add, by the way, it's important to note that they had already had a burgeoning relationship
Yes,
while they were
yes.
flirting. They were talking about what to do next.
I got the vibe that they were already probably sleeping together at that point, in my mind.
I would assume so. It seems that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he is working as a valet, and Gail calls and is like, I need you to come do this movie. And we do get like shots in set of him working as a valet at, they call it Capitua Cel Capitan. However, or Cakatua Cel Capitan.
Yeah.
It is the El Coyote.
El Coyote on Melrose, yeah. Which is, by the way, super famous Hollywood location with just the most mediocre Mexican food you could possibly get.
Yeah, super mediocre Mexican food, but haunted maybe because of its history.
It's not, actually.
You don't think so?
It's not, because that's not real.
It's not haunted because that's not a thing, unless it is, but I'm not going to fuck with it.
It's haunted by the ghosts of better Mexican food.
The reason it's so famous is that was the last place Sharon Tate ate before she passed away.
What a bummer that that's your last meal.
Anyway, he takes that guy's car because a guy drops his car off and is like, don't scratch it. Hey, weren't you that stunt guy who broke his back?
And this is where we get the exposition of what's happened to him. Yeah, like,
Right.
He's like, you went from being a stuntman to a valet? Like, that's quite a fall. And he's like, yeah, I'm the fall guy or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy calls him the fall guy, right?
That's what it
But
is,
That's
yes.
where he gets the nickname, is like, you're the fall guy.
Yeah. But he stunt drives the car around, drops the car off, and then we cut back to him being like, all right, if it's Jodie's movie, I'll go.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, yeah, because Hannah Waddingham called to ask, right?
Right.
I think that the producer laid it on pretty thick. Like, you know, they're
Yeah.
a villain, but like, they're like, Jodie asked for you specifically. She's so busy, so she couldn't do it herself, but she like knew that you were the person who could get this over the finish line for her, knowing because of their relationship, he would definitely say yes. And then,
Well, he was made for loving her, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I do love, one of the things that I found very funny is as he's going to the airport to go to fly to set, there's a billboard of Tom Ryder, aka Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, and he's like, Earth, Minerals, the new fragrance from Tom Ryder. And I was like, I have seen so many commercials. Like, it's hysterically accurate.
It is great, but I think this is a great job of like positioning Tom Ryder as not just like a movie star. He's like a global brand,
Right.
so it's like almost a different like level than regular movie star.
It's a Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
Yeah. He gets to set. Now, this is something that if you did not follow the strikes closely, you might not understand why this is very important that this is in this movie. But they scan his face to basically scan it onto doubles to deep fake. And that's actually something that both actors and writers and others fought to prevent, because what was happening is they would scan people and then they would put them on a bunch of things that they did not actually sign off on and did not get paid for, which is a plot point in this movie.
yeah, except for murder. But yeah, I mean, it is. It's like a heightened version of that, right? Like, because
Right.
they use these scans to
Yep.
frame him, because Gail's already working on the plan. Like, she's already a villain. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He is just there to be framed, we will find out.
Yes.
We are post-crime.
Yeah, oh,
Yes.
yes.
She's using him, and she's like, I know the perfect patsy. Bam.
Yeah.
But he arrives on set, and runs into the stunt coordinator, who is someone he used to work with prior, named Dan, played wonderfully by Winston Duke, one of my favorites, who also needs to be in more movies.
He does a great job with the action scenes he's asked to do in this. Like, he's great.
He's awesome.
I mean, let's not forget, his big break, his biggest break was in the Black Panther films as M'Baku.
Yeah.
And like the dude's a tank.
Oh, he's like 6'5". He's massive.
When you saw him in Us and you were just like, that's not like a real man looks like that.
Right. He lays in that bed and he's just massive.
I mean, in this one, there's like a scene where he's fighting somebody and he like doesn't punch them. He like clotheslines them and they do a backflip. Like I realize that's a stunt, but like if he hit me like that, that's what my body would do. Because that dude's like twice my size and could kill me easily.
You would shit yourself like you just went to El Coyote.
And it would have been my last meal.
Your last meal.
Yeah. I would have taken that Winston Duke.
Oh.
Thank you.
You win some, you lose some.
I find Winston Duke incredibly attractive, but I'm also 5'2". So if I ever met him in person, I feel like I would be child-sized. I'd be
I mean, not for nothing, but like he has a similar body structure to your husband. Like your husband is also a bit of a tank.
You could say that again.
He's not quite as tall, though.
He's not as tall, but that dude, he's a powerful man.
Yes.
Sometimes I just think about climbing him.
She's like, yes.
Yes, he do be that. Yeah, well, he's got to lug all that lumber around. He's got lumber body.
He has to lumber it around.
You know, hey, I'm 5'2". Sometimes I need protecting from just the world or shelves that are too high. So, like, you got to find someone who's up for the task.
Can you hand me the colander?
Oh, if you had any idea how often that exact sentence is uttered in our house, and then followed by, please stop putting the colander on the second shelf.
Paige, my fiance is 5 feet tall. It gets uttered in our house all the time.
Yep.
That's how I knew that one.
I have no idea what you people are talking about.
A colander's like a strainer, but more for pasta.
Oh, yeah. I'm a man. What's a colander? What's a cupboard? I don't understand. You don't just eat beans out of the can that you put on the stove?
Everything is at my eye line. I have no worries.
I am everybody's assistant at every store I go to.
It's what you get for being over 6 feet.
Yeah, that means I get to die early.
That is true, yeah.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, like at least my back hurts all the time.
Oh, you and my husband both.
Small price to pay for being a fetish.
I'm not a good climber. Anyway, so he's like, okay, great. Your first stunt is the cannon roll. And he's like, what? Like, I just broke my back. I'm going to have to do the cannon roll. He's like, yeah, we got to do it.
It's literally the world record setting cannon roll that they do break the world record shooting this scene in the movie.
Yep.
Like, it's that big of a stunt he's being asked to do, and like them actually doing the stunt for the movie broke the world record.
Yes.
It's the worst way to get back into doing stunts 18 months after one of them literally broke your back.
Or the best way.
Well, I mean, and that's what Winston Duke says to him. He says you got to start rolling cars and stop parking them. Which I thought, that was a great line. You got him on that one, dude.
That is a great line.
Yeah.
Oh, I love him just quoting movies the whole rest of the movie.
I know.
Is great to me.
That bit where they just quote each other back out and they do it no matter what the scenario is very funny.
But this is very much like the conversation between like a guy and his friend after a break, and he's like, man, it's been 18 months, man. It's time for you to get back out there, man.
Back on the horse.
Get back
or
on
back
the horse.
in this car and then roll it 8.5 times.
Every time I go through a breakup, I also want to roll my car 8.5 times.
I think that's a common feeling.
Been there.
We also get, and this is kind of an Easter egg for later in the movie, where someone from props comes up and is like, yeah, this is the design of the guns. And it absolutely looks like an electric guitar. And she's just like,
it looks like a Kiss guitar.
Yeah. She's like, you said metal. And she's like, great. How many of these you've made? And she's like, 200. And she's like, okay, it's in the movie.
She's like, fantastic. This is great. Okay. But it's clear she doesn't love the design.
Oh, no. Until later.
Yeah, I love that it gets a bit of a resurgence on there. It's very funny.
It gets a bit of a redemption arc, yeah.
We do. Now, we also know that they only have enough pyrotechnics for one take, but they keep testing it, which was very funny to me.
I love that they're doing that to seemingly just pissed off the pyrotechnics head of that department or whatever. She's like, they're doing this because they don't respect you. Like, they don't take you seriously because you're so high strung all the time.
Yeah.
But that's like, they're making her busy. And by they, I mean the movie. It's just like making her busy so that it makes sense that like Colt gets on set without them seeing each other until after the stunt reveal, right?
It is an ample distraction to have.
Which I honestly think, I'm sure shooting and being a director at that level on this day on set, you're probably being pulled in 5,000 directions. So like, it seemed realistic enough for me.
Yeah.
It would not be uncommon for a director to never speak to a stuntman.
Right? Especially if it's like that big of a production.
Just because there's 4 people in between them.
Not me, though. If I was a director, I'd talk to all the stuntmen. Because I'm a good dude.
Honestly, I bet they have some of the best stories on set. Like, they've got to.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I do love that this is kind of, the whole pyrotechnics thing is also kind of a veiled reference to a very common stunt mistake where pyrotechnics go off early. It's one that Tropic Thunder also makes fun of twice. So like, that was very funny where I was like, the classic early
I
pyrotechnics.
got some Tiger Bomb on this jungle's nuts.
Yeah. Anyway, they're going to do the shot. And he's worried about the sand, which actually turns out to be a valid concern, which is kind of crazy. But he's like, the sand is loose. I'm not getting traction. They want him closer to the camera. The camera's on a gimbal behind another car. So like, the car's driving in front of him. The camera's in between him and that car. And he's trying to get as close to it as possible without ruining the camera. But unfortunately, he taps and breaks that camera. But they have 7 other cameras on it because that's how movies like this are filmed.
There's one in a helicopter. Like, they have a shitload of coverage.
Yeah. So they do the stunt anyway. It blows. He does 8.5 rolls, puts a thumbs up outside that he's okay. They're like, great. They run over to confirm that they got the shot. And as he climbs out, she's like, what the fuck? Like, why? No, what? I didn't ask for this. Please. It's got to be anyone else. And Winston Duke is like, there isn't anyone else, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's really anti-Australian, I've noticed in this movie.
Well, I think it was also a case of anyone who looks close enough to the lead.
Yeah.
Although we will find out at the end of the movie, they end up reshooting this entire film.
Well, I mean, yeah, because it ends up being Jason Momoa, and Ryan Gosling doesn't look anything like Jason Momoa.
I would assume
So
he still
good.
did the stunts, though. Who's to say? Anyway, we watch them kind of looking through the dailies because she has this scene where she's trying to tell him how she feels while continually lighting him on fire. The versions of this that we see, like, done with effects, very funny.
Yes.
Because you're like, oh, this movie is Ghosts of Mars level terrible. Like, this is a shitty
it's so
movie.
funny.
You mean the movie inside the movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
It felt very much like someone saw Dune and then they wanted to make the Jupiter Ascending version of it. Yes.
Hey, that's why I mentioned the werewolf on rollerblades. Yes. Jupiter Ascending levels of weird.
I love Jupiter Ascending as like,
As a study.
yes, as like guys, this sort of thing can happen. Like, you got to be careful, like a cautionary tale.
You mean like the events of the movie could happen?
No, I mean like this type and style and production level quality of movie can happen.
Yeah, I feel like it's a case study of what happens when no one steps in and goes, we're not going to let you do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're going back and forth. She keeps lighting him on fire, keeps making him redo it. And eventually she hands him a bullhorn to try and express his feelings. He struggles to do so. When he eventually does, it's pretty great.
Yeah, and when he's on the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my favorite scene of the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
My favorite is when he hands it to the other alien who has the robot voice and is like, this same kind of thing happened to me when I fell in love with my wife's sister. And he's like, okay. And just snatches the megaphone back.
I think it's very funny. But this whole time, she is like, I assume like the movie actually does have this plot as well, because it's like, from the legendary mind of Jodie whatever. So I would imagine she was the writer / director, right?
Yeah, I think she's writing her own experience.
Yeah, they impressed that the whole movie. He's like, this is your movie. You've been waiting forever to make this movie. Like,
Yeah.
Which makes it so funny when you see the quality of it.
she's always wanted to make a bad movie. Like we've all been,
we've
all had that person in our lives whose dream is bad. And you're like, well, I hope I'm wrong.
There have been enough of those people in my life that the thing I'm working on right now, I'm like, am I that person? Is this bad? And people are like, no. And I was like, you might be lying. I've lied to people before. And it's a constant fear. But one of my favorite parts is the unsung crazy hero of this movie to a degree is the script supervisor, who, if you're unfamiliar with the hierarchy on set,
Yes.
the script supervisor is the one that makes sure they record that you have the coverage based on what is written in the script. But they also can sometimes be responsible for rewrites on set if they're needed in the moment. But she's the one that runs up to Jodie and is like, okay, hear me out. What if we talk about in the third act that we're having a third act problem? And they kind of turn to the camera and she's like, I appreciate that, but no, and then runs away. But that's the girl that's with her the whole time tracking the script, is that script supervisor. But we cut to Ryan Gosling goes to Gail's trailer where her Nespresso machine does not work.
This whole movie is Ryan Gosling really just trying to get a cup of coffee. I love that, like, he never does. You never see him
funny
get a
bit.
cup of coffee. It is really funny, yeah.
It's such a subtle bit too. Like you don't realize you're watching a bit until like the third time.
It happens.
Like when he finally gets a cup of coffee and then is attacked by someone with a samurai sword.
The co-star.
And then you're like, oh, the bit.
Yes. I also love it because, like, I think this is a subtle stunt guy dig, because if your main actor at any point in the day yells coffee, it's in their hand before they finish saying coffee. Or if you're Mick Jagger, they yell Diet Coke and it's in their Diet Coke and it's in their hand before they finish saying Diet Coke. But for a stunt person, no, you gotta like find your own coffee and shit.
Yeah, you're like a grip. You have to wait until you're not working and get your own fucking coffee.
And so I think this is very much like, I can't even have coffee. I gotta do the thing. Anyway, she's super excited. She's like, you broke the 8.5 rolls world record. Amazing. And he's like, cool, but she clearly doesn't want me here. You lied to me.
Yeah.
And she's like, what's the message in all my movies? And he says, nihilism is a viable worldview, which I love that that's his first answer.
And she's like, that's the sexy bacon. Or
That's
whatever.
the sexy
Sexy
bacon we
bacon.
wrap it in, baby.
That's what I used to bring it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the actual message is when you fall down, get back up. But the sexy bacon is nihilism. But she then sets the stage of like, Ryder's missing. He won't show up to set. He's fallen in with bad people. I think he's on a bender. Can you just go find him and talk him back into coming back to set? And he's like, fucking fine. And she's like, plus, you'll save the movie for Jodie, because if he doesn't come back, the movie doesn't happen.
Yeah, because the studio execs will shut it down, and like, you don't want to ruin her only chance to make a big budget movie.
Yeah. So he gets to Ryder's loft, which has one of my favorite, like, actors behaving badly on set in jokes of all time. And it is one of my favorites. And it's a movie we have not done on Horror Virgin yet, but it is eligible for October for sequel month. And that is Blade Trinity, where Wesley Snipes was only communicating with the cast and crew via Post-it notes that he would sign as Blade. And that was like a known thing, that was the only way to communicate with him on set, was by Post-it notes that he would leave as directions and information for people. The implication being he was maybe struggling with some substances or any number of things.
Well, he hated David Goyer.
He hated David Goyer.
That was
as well.
the thing. Like
Yeah.
he really, really hated David Goyer and
Ryan Reynolds.
and what's his name, Ryan Reynolds, and they famously made that joke in Wolverine and Deadpool.
See, which I haven't seen, but I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, spoilers.
That's fine.
That's
live.
on you. It's on you. It's been 2 months.
It's on me. No, I've just been sick and shit.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But there's a line where Wesley Snipes is just like, I don't like you. And he goes, you never did. And it's just like, it's just such a perfect in joke, you know?
Yeah. But I do love the few Post-it notes that we see, because he goes into this, like, he asks Gail about the Post-it notes, and she's like, oh, we're at like memento levels now. You don't even understand.
Yeah.
But like, when he goes, oh, I have accidentally skipped ahead. I am so sorry. We'll talk about those Post-it notes more when we go.
Yeah, but it sets him up in the scene we're talking about.
It sets him up
Yeah.
in this scene. And at first I thought it was just going to be that off comment. I was like, aha, Blade Trinity. But then we will come back to it in a hilarious way.
It's also important to note, Paige, that that's also what writers' houses look like in apartments when you go in. They have the cork board with all
mine
the
is over
Post-it notes
here.
tacked up there. Do you have one? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yes, writers' houses do look like this, with a bunch of crazy story circles drawn everywhere.
Yeah. Isn't it funny that the most ADHD people decide to become
I know. It's all of us, though.
writers, and writing requires the most like organized existence to have?
I've never met any creative person that I thought was worth their salt that didn't have ADHD. It is a part of having a creative brain, I think.
I think so.
I think it is an aberration to be creative on some level.
I have notebooks that if I find them, I could rule the world.
Right? Right?
Oh, that hour special you lost at Starbucks that time in that notebook? Oof.
One of my notebooks that I've lost, you guys want to know how bad my brain is. A friend of mine was the personal assistant for a very famous director. And they were in Europe at the time. And she was like, hey, we need a charge approved. He is in a screening or a meeting or something, and he won't be out for 3 hours. And I need this charge approved. And I was like, okay. She's like, I need you to commit a little bit of credit card fraud for me. I need you to call, whatever this company is. Here's the number. Here are the numbers on the back. Here's his full name, his mother's maiden name, like all the passwords and shit, right? And I called and they were like, well, we need to do this. And I would just I had to play exasperated. I'm like, I don't have that. Like, look me up. Kind of a thing. Like, it's me. Look me up. Google me, bitch. Kind of a thing. And got it approved and then lost the notebook. So somewhere, if somebody wants to steal the identity of a very well-known director, by all means, have at it.
Yeah. Oh my God. As we were talking about the Post-it notes, I remembered that part of the reason that's very famous. I'm not surprised at all that person has ADHD.
I just sent the director his name to them in the chat, and a director whose movies you have absolutely covered.
We have you were on one of them, man. Yeah. I had to get a draft of my pilot in. But I was in Austin, and so I brought the Post-it notes from home and then had to put them up on the window of the hotel room in order to work on what I was working on. And then I had to take them back down in order to then take them back home to then put them back up again. I mean, they're still in my backpack. I never put them back up.
This life is a nightmare.
It's so terrible.
You ever find an old comedy notebook with bits, premises that you haven't seen in 8 years, and then you pick it up, you're like, oh, I guess I could do this joke about Donald Trump is about to run for president. Let's see if we can do something with that.
Oopsie days.
Oddly still possibly relevant, though.
Still possibly relevant. Anyway, he gets into his truck. Now, this is actually pretty fun because they're like, please don't wreck it. He's going to wreck that truck, obviously.
Yeah.
But they're like, it's the only lefty I have, because they're in Australia, but it's Ryan Gosling, who I assume needs to drive this truck left-hand side. And also, anytime they film them driving around, they're driving on the American side.
Well, it's a lefty. He's driving a lefty.
He's driving a lefty, but the roads didn't change, Todd.
I mean, they are driving around Australia, though. They're on the streets of Australia. So.
I mean, I'll also add that, are they? Because every time you see people driving in this movie, it's usually in the median and they're smashing into shit.
Yeah.
The only reason I noticed was the garbage truck scene where I was like, wait a second, this is on the wrong. But again, I would almost guarantee closed course that it's not actually on any kind of a thing.
I mean, because of some of the stunts, that it wouldn't surprise me at all. Some of the they're crazy. You'd have
I'm assuming it's closed.
Yeah.
Also, one of the things that I did want to add here, because Paige, you and I are having the same problem, is trying to remember where we are, which is this movie. Another example of just kind of how forgettable this movie is that a lot of the information you're being given, it doesn't matter where it's placed in the plot.
True. Because where we're at right now is the Taylor Swift crying in the car scene.
I love this scene. But we get more flashback while he's in the truck crying of their on-set romance, right?
Oh, that's where the on-set romance was, because I forgot. I thought it was in the beginning.
It is also in the beginning.
It is. You get more detail here.
Yeah.
It's in both places, but she comes up to the car and was like, were you crying? And he's like, no. And this is where she's like, can I get in the car? And he is kind of like, I want to apologize, but I can't find the words. He still has not found a way to articulate what he will articulate later on the boat.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, well, can you drive me to my car? And he's like, sure. And it's 2 feet away, which is great.
But she didn't want to get out either.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's clear that she is mad at him, and she sort of does apologize for putting him through, setting him on fire 5 or 6 times or whatever. In that moment, she's apologizing for that, but then also I'm not ready to actually jump into anything yet.
No, they have a good let's be friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's work together because you need me for the movie, and that's it.
Yeah. And I do love that he like drives away listening to Taylor Swift and then it immediately goes back to Kiss.
Yeah.
And in my notes, I just have more Kiss, less Taylor Swift. It's a good Taylor Swift song, but it's a better Kiss song, man.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Well, and you get more of that song specifically. Like that song is in every scene.
Well, and this is where he gets to the loft and he's trying to code in and he's like, he's like imitating what he thinks Aaron Taylor Johnson's gonna say to him of just like, be a pussy ass bitch. Please don't call me a pussy ass bitch.
Yeah, he's like having the conversation in his head, which we've all done, right?
Oh,
like,
1,000 times. Yes.
This is where he gets in, and the amount of post-it notes is unfucking real.
it's hilarious. Whoever did the set design deserves an Oscar for that.
And it's on every glass surface.
Yeah.
Everything, the fridge, the staircase, the wall, like everything.
What was your favorite one? Because mine was, is it Momoa or Momoa?
Or Mamoa. It was great. Mine was, why is Chinese chicken orange?
Mine was the reveal of by koala because it's like sell cockatoo or whatever.
Sell cockatoo by koala.
I was like, oh, that's an even worse idea. But of course it is because he's an idiot.
But it also goes to show just like how flighty some actors are, that they'll just be like, well, he's in Australia now, so he's seen a koala and he wants one.
He wants one.
Yeah, like that's so funny to me that he's just like, well, I want a koala now because I saw one.
Oh, whoever did these, first of all, hysterical. I want to know who did punch up for the notes because I can almost guarantee you they called up people we know in the comedy scene and were like, what's the craziest post-it note you've ever seen? And then put them in. Because famously on Cult Podcast, we have joked that Armando Torres found a post-it note he wrote in his sleep that just said fuck mustard. And we have an entire fake brand around it within the podcast now of like a lube brand that comes in condiment packets. It's fuck mustard. Put it on your dick. Or put it on your wiener. Sorry.
Jeff, I've been meaning to talk to you about business opportunity I want to go into with you. It's called Fluxtered.
Yes.
And it's like lube that comes in little like condiment packets. Put it on your sausage.
It comes in packets, so you can too.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, so he finds all these notes. He turns on the lights, and the lights are cued to like the sound system in the house.
Holy shit.
And it's just DJ Khaled's All I Do Is Win.
DJ Khaled.
Mercifully, it is the ludicrous verse of that song, which is arguably the best one, and the one I know word for word and have rapped drunk into people's faces multiple times.
Hell yeah, Paige.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm so proud of you, Paige.
Somewhere, Crystal Adams has a video of me on New Year's Eve rapping this directly into her phone and then cheering. And I have no idea where that video ended up.
That sounds like it was at an Atsuko party.
No, it was at Silver Lake Lounge.
Oh, what's worse?
Yes. Anyway, why is Chinese chicken orange? But who should jump out but Sword Assassin, and it is the main actress from Metal Storm, who is Ryder's girlfriend / like main actress in the movie, because this is definitely one of those on-set romances that is going to break up somebody's marriage. But I also love that he's like, no, I'm working on Metal Storm 2. And she's like, we're only on Metal Storm 1. And he's like, I meant also.
Yeah. There's a lot of really funny beats in the movie. Like, I love it.
He fights her off her samurai sword with a golden globe.
Yes.
Which I think is he snatches a golden globe off the shelf. This is where we get a shot of all of the props that he has on his shelf. And one is the gun with blanks only.
Yeah.
And then the one that's a tomahawk.
Chekhov's useless gun.
Chekhov's useless gun.
He does use it though.
Yeah.
It's pretty ineffective, but.
But she asks about his jacket, and he basically says the first stunt show I did was Miami Vice. I used to jump a boat through a ring of fire so often I could do it with my hands tied.
Yeah.
That will come up later.
Boy, they telegraphed the shit out of that one, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
As he's like going towards the fire, I was like, he's got this shit. Like, he's gonna make it.
You see him see it. You're like, oh, yeah, I know what's going to happen.
I got this. But this is where she's like, oh, he might be with his drug dealer. You're going to have to wear neon because it's neon night at the club, which I think is just so the drug dealer can spot him.
Yeah.
Because this is all a setup. Although I will say this is one of the most realistic depictions of a coke dealer on screen since True Romance, and I do appreciate that.
Is it because of the tattoo leopard print head?
No, it's the behavior.
It's the behavior.
It is the behavior. The jitteriness, the bug eyes.
Why doesn't anyone want to talk to a drug dealer? I want to have a conversation. No one ever wants to sit and have a conversation with me.
And then he drugs the guy.
Yes.
Like, that's the other part that's so funny. He's like, why does everyone think I'm shady? And he immediately drugs him.
Yeah.
But this is also where he's like, no Oscars for stunts. That's fucking bullshit. I'm like, that's right. That is bullshit.
It is bullshit. Yeah.
That's the movie saying that too.
Yes.
Which I think is extra funny, like extra meta that they add that in.
I do love this fight sequence in this club, though.
Oh, it's magical.
It looks, it reminded me a lot of Scott Pilgrim.
Yes.
In the sense that it's like very magical dream world sort of.
Yep.
You don't see them interact with like the lettering, and we don't see like people's introductions like that, but.
No, but it's very similar where it's like you're telegraphing punches, the hits are dynamic.
Yeah. It's a really fun way to do it.
What I do love after this is the guy runs out into a taxi. He chases him down. He gets hit by the taxi, so the taxi driver has to stop. And as he's like pulling him out of the back seat to get information on where Ryder is, he's like, okay, so I got to go to the hotel, ask for a fruit plate, whatever. And he's like, when is this going to stop? Because you drugged me.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you mean when are you going to stop seeing unicorns? And he's like, yeah. And he turns and there's a full ass unicorn there. And I love that for the rest of the time that he is high on drugs.
Yeah.
The next few scenes, the unicorn's just there.
Yeah.
Not interacting, just ever present, just kind of in the background.
Yeah. Waiting for the come down. It's really clever.
Hysterical.
I want to add that for such a short fight scene, because we kind of did yada yada over that.
Yeah.
The highlights of it, where they have like the visual effects that they add onto there to make it seem like he's fighting in a stoned state. It's also so ethereal that you don't know if what you're seeing is actually what's happening.
Yes.
Like there's a part where he kicks a guy and the guy looks like he's falling into the ground, but then he falls into a pool.
Yeah.
And you're like, is he imagining the pool because he's stoned, or is that a real pool in the middle of this club?
I kept waiting for them to cut to what was really happening and for him to just be flailing and for them to be carrying him off to an SUV somewhere.
That would have been very funny. Yeah.
So he gets to the hotel. Who does he run into? Jody and Gail. Here's my question. Did he actually run into Jody and Gail?
He did.
Because Gail seems to not know about this, but maybe she's just lying.
He definitely did, because she calls him later to talk about like
That's
script
right.
notes, and then they reference the third act notes that he gave her later.
The next day, yeah.
So yeah, that definitely did happen, yeah. But I mean, I definitely understand why you ask, because it cuts from him asking the guy, like the drug dealer, how long will it take for me to come off this? And he's like, when you stop seeing unicorns, you're fine. And then it smash cuts to him at the desk asking Kevin for a fruit platter with the unicorn literally right behind him.
And also, Kevin's not there. It's another lady.
That's right.
He turns to talk to Jody, and Gail runs up and kind of ushers Jody away.
Yeah.
And Jody's like, you seem not okay. Okay, but Gail kind of ushers her away. He turns back around. Unicorn's still there. And now Kevin is there, and he's like, I'd like the fruit plate. And he's like, cool, it's on ice.
Yeah.
They give us a big projection there where Hannah Waddingham's character sees him and she's like, well, what are you doing here? And at first you think it's like, oh, what are you doing at the same building? But she's actually genuinely shocked he's alive.
Yeah.
Right.
Like she's like, why are you here? And it wasn't until like my second watch that that it clicked with me that I was like, oh, they're telegraphing the shit out of that.
Yeah.
Yes. Don't let the back-to-school season set back your nutrition. Green Chef is making it easy to stick to your healthy eating habits with a new, flexible menu featuring over 35 customizable recipe options every week. New options include doubling your portion of protein or veggies, swapping out a plant-based protein like organic tofu or tempeh, or dairy-free or gluten-free options. Are you vegetarian or vegan? They've got you covered there too. Green Chef has over 15 recipes every week to support those lifestyles and more. You'll also find over 15 weekly recipes that are ready in 25 minutes or less. So you'll have the power to tailor the menu to your needs, satisfying and nourishing everyone in your family in about 30 minutes. I know for Jake and I, we're really busy and we don't always have time to cook fresh for ourselves, so Green Chef has been amazing. We personally tried the Mediterranean menu, and it has been delicious. So take your clean routine further with 2 times the support. Green Chef's healthiest menu ever, and access to thousands of top-rated gyms and fitness studios worldwide from ClassPass. For a limited time, new Green Chef subscribers will also receive 50 free credits to use at ClassPass, about a month's worth of membership. Quality whole foods with limited processed ingredients and organic farm fresh produce are in every box. That's what makes Green Chef the #1 meal kit for clean eating. So if you want to try out Green Chef, go to greenchef.com/romancingthepodclass for 50% off your first box, plus 50 free credits with ClassPass. That's code romancingthepodclass at greenchef.com/romancingthepodclass to get 50% off your first box and 50 free ClassPass credits.
Are you struggling to close deals? Cold outreach is wasting the time of both the buyer and seller at every stage, especially when sellers are using shallow and outdated data. Your organization can overcome these challenges with technology that translates comprehensive, high-quality buyer data into real-time insights. These deeper insights empower sales reps and teams to adopt the habits of top performers, which leads to better outcomes, like more pipeline, higher win rates, and larger deals. We call this deep sales. And we've built the first deep sales platform with the next generation of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/trial. That's linkedin.com/trial for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/trial and get started.
But he goes into the hotel room, and this is where she calls, and he breaks in because they couldn't get the key to work both times, which did make me laugh every time.
Yeah, there was a bit where, although they did kind of weirdly break it up. There's no rule of 3 on it.
Right. They should have done it one more
Which
time.
is an interesting
it literally
choice.
is just the second time. Yeah.
But he kicks his way through the door. He's just kind of wandering around this hotel room full of weird neon sculptures that I kind of dig, with the unicorn just kind of like ambling through the background the whole time.
It is sort of just walking around behind him.
Right. But this is when she calls and is like, well, what if we did split screen? What if we have them both talking? And then we get it in the film. And I do love that it is a mirrored split screen.
Yes.
Where their actions mirror each other.
Very rules of attraction.
Yes. And then she puts on a monster claw. I laugh for the whole rest of the time because I know she's Aliana. I know that that's the metaphor. But I also just love her gesturing with the monster claw.
We haven't even said, first off, that the whole movie, the person who ends up playing the Space Cowboy is Jason Momoa, right? So
correct.
Like his character name is Space Cowboy. And the alien that Space Cowboy falls in love with, their name is Aliana. And I thought that shit was fucking ridiculous and hilarious.
And she's the only one that doesn't look like an alien.
I know.
In the fake movie. She is fully just a human.
Hot.
Is super hot, and the rest of the aliens are like the
District
Skrull or whatever
monsters,
from Avengers. Yes,
it's hilarious. But anyway, they are like talking about like how should we end this movie, and it is very meta because like we're about to sort of enter into the third act in this movie that we're watching, and they're sort of like foreshadowing what will happen.
This is actually only halfway through the second act.
I know. That's what I'm saying. We will be moving into the third act, and that's what they're talking about.
Yeah, that is what they're talking about.
Yeah.
We're going to get 2 or 3 changes before we get there, but the monster claw, fantastic.
She like strokes her face with her thumb and the monster claw, and it's ridiculous.
Well, and this is where she gets the idea of like, fuck Tom, we'll find a way to shoot this with the guy I actually like, but he is still high. Right? And then walks into the bathroom only to find a body in the bathtub. And of course, immediately goes to call Gail. And Gail's like, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, what? It's the neon suite. I don't know what is happening.
Yeah, I'm calling the cops. I'm going to call the cops right now. And she's like, don't call the cops. And then there's a knock on the window and it's a cop.
Yeah.
And he's like, the cops are here. I'm going to talk to the cop. And he rolls down the window and he's like, you can't park here.
Right. But he comes back to set the next day and he's like, I got to tell Jody about the dead guy, but I got to like figure out how to tell her.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Dan is like, well, I got to build a truck or a car that'll make this 250-foot jump, which is like no one's ever done it before.
And I have a day and a half to do it, which is such a funny like comment on studio
expectations.
Insane studio expectations.
Yeah. Or later when they're like, we have 3 hours and 52 minutes at the Sydney Opera House
to shoot the whole action sequence. Yeah.
And this is where we see him dressed up as Space Cowboy, but he's got guns and a samurai sword.
Yes.
It's very Duncan, Idaho.
Who is played by Jason Momoa. Or is it Momoa?
It's Momoa.
I know. I'm making fun of the Post-it notes.
Oh, but after they wrap, she's like, we're all going out to karaoke. You should come. And he's like, I would love that. Great. Finger guns.
Yeah.
We then cut to him in a trailer, checking out for the day with a PA arguing about if he got his meal breaks, and she's like, no, I gave you a brekkie wrap. He's like, I don't remember doing that.
There's a line where he's like, look, normally I'm fine, but other people won't be cool with that.
Yeah.
He's like, because you guys are in meal penalty right now.
Yeah, technically you're in meal penalty right now.
Anyway, Gail is like, hey, you should get out of here because some bad shit's going to go down and we don't need you anymore. Like, Ryder's going to come back. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And he sees that Ryder's assistant, Stephanie Shue, is gathering his dogs, his stuff to potentially fly home. So in her mind, the movie is not happening.
Right.
Now, he tracks her down. He disregards Gail's tickets, whatever. He tracks down the assistant because he knows one of the dogs. It was a dog from a shoot.
Jean-Claude.
And he commands it in French.
This is Jean-Claude, yeah. And this all happens after they shoot that action sequence at the Opera House. Like, it's not...
Right.
Not much happens except for she does invite him to go to karaoke, and he says, yes, I will go to that.
Yes.
But that's really all that happens in that, like, 15-minute segment. And maybe that was actually shorter for you guys. But it really is a lot of, like, montage of them, like, shooting an action sequence.
Yeah, it was not bad for me. I didn't clock this as being overly long for
Okay,
what
cool.
it is. But this is I believe in a thing called love.
It is, yeah.
This is where they're using that. But it didn't seem overly long, and they didn't use the entire song.
No.
So he catches up with her. He talks to the dog. At this point, he's like, hey, what's going on? Why is everyone being weird? And she's like, the security guy wants this phone. Like, I know who you are. And she's like, whatever's on this phone is dangerous. And I want a producer credit in order to turn it over for you. And he's like, I can't do that. She's like, well, it seems like you and the director are rekindling. And he's like, are we rekindling? Like, is that working out?
I loved that. He was like, I know, like, from my perspective, it feels that way. But, like, from your outside perspective, does it seem that way? And she's like, I don't know. Like, but yeah, he agrees to try and she hands it over. But, like, right when she hands it over, they get, like, cattle prodded
by the garbage men.
Yeah, she gets, like, snatched up and they run back and throw her in the garbage truck. Not in the back, but in the cab.
Yeah.
By, like, the heavy of the movie, by the way.
Yes.
I love the guy that they have as the heavy. Like, I don't know if you ever get his name.
No, you never do. And he just looks like he stepped off of Game of Thrones.
He does.
Yeah, he has WWE energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got the Viking braids. He's like, I'm working for History Channel later. Don't worry about it.
I'm doing a Deadliest Warrior after this.
We intercut between her at karaoke singing that amazing Phil Collins song, Against All Odds.
Oof.
And this crazy car/dog/whatever chase, garbage man chase, where when the chase is happening, we have non-diegetic music of that same Phil Collins song, and it's cut so that whenever we cut back to her, we have the diegetic version of her singing it in the world of the movie.
Yeah.
Seamless from scene to scene, which is a small detail that you don't have to do, but I actually found it really cool.
I thought it was awesome.
Really glad they did it. I loved it.
The stunt process cannot be described well. Compared, like whatever we would describe as what the fight and the garbage truck scenario actually is. There is nothing we can say to describe it other than it is just this insane back and forth of stunts.
He's in like the bucket of the truck and it's skidding and turning on the street and they're fist fighting in it.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
Which again, badass. Essentially, he, with Jean-Claude, that dog is a fucking maniac.
That's a star. The dog is a star.
Dog is a star.
Yeah.
Like Keanu Reeves, dog star.
They get to the front. He's trying to get her to put the brakes on. She can't because her hydro flask has slid under the brake. But the dog gets the hydro flask out. She brakes. He goes flying through the windshield, hits the street, but then thumbs up. He's okay. They make it to karaoke, but Emily Blunt's already gone.
Yeah. I do like how at one point they are in the like dump truck or whatever fighting, and they're going right past outside the karaoke venue where she's singing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, he's so close.
But they decide that they're going to go back to his loft to try and see if the passcode for the phone is on one of the Post-it notes. Spoiler, always is.
Because of course it would be, right?
Did you, I missed it as I was, because they go back, they check through.
Yeah.
And Winston Duke goes into the fridge to take out champagne and sees a Post-it note on the fridge, pulls it up, and the passcode is under that Post-it note.
Yes.
What was the one he pulled up? I did not catch that one.
Was that the bird one?
Oh, no, that might have been the bird one.
It was the bird one. Then he turns it, flips it away, and then underneath it, you see the passcode.
Yes, yeah. Sell cockatoo by koala.
That was my favorite Post-it note. It was so funny.
Yeah, that to me is just such a funny thing. I really enjoyed that.
Anyway, they pull up the videos on the phone, and this is where we get his hilarious fur-coated bathroom self-tape, which is great.
And I love the part of it is just they're just like, what an asshole. And they're like, he is good though.
I love that.
He is good.
I love that they're like, God, he's so good though.
Because that's the other thing too, is like, I think that same way about James Woods. I think James Woods is like one of the worst people on the planet.
Fair.
But man, I like his work.
I feel this way about Leonardo DiCaprio, where there's so much about Leonardo DiCaprio, the person, that I don't love. But damn it if he's not fucking great every time.
Yeah, no, I think James Woods is a super underappreciated actor and a super overappreciated person.
That I would agree with. Yeah. Anyway, we cut to, they find the video of that party that the assistant mentioned, where Henry, the former stunt double for this movie, was partying with Tom Ryder. And he basically kind of, I guess, goads him into getting into a fight because Henry was like, hey, do you do your own stunts? Ha ha ha. And then they get into a fight and he kind of shoves Henry, and Henry falls $1 million babies himself on a glass coffee table.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, no stunt double would ever say that to their...
True.
Like, no stunt double would ever mock their meal ticket.
Yeah.
No. You ever hear the stories about Arnold's stunt double? The guy got him he's got himself surgically altered to look more like Arnold.
Yeah.
Like, these guys are not morons. Like, they always say this guy's the biggest action star in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not going to do that.
Yeah. The other thing too is like when people find people they like and a stunt double they like, they will carry them movie to movie to movie to movie to movie.
Well, they talk about it in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Aaron Taylor Johnson does that too.
Yeah.
Even at the end, he's like, but he's so good.
He's so good. Anyway, they turn on the TV. Spoiler, Gail has leaked all of this to the news, and they're now thinking that the dead body that they found in the hotel was Ryan Gosling's victim because they have video of him looking into the hotel room and breaking in, because all of this was organized by Gail.
Yeah.
And so at this point, I love that Winston Duke turns to him and he's like, so if this is the fugitive, that means the bad guys are closing in on you, and they immediately call weapons.
It's such a beautifully meta scene where he's like, and he's basically saying, if this were a movie, now would be the time where an army would be cocking their guns as they're running in to take us out.
Right.
And so they're like, oh shit.
Yes.
We should probably but of course, everything's fake.
Right. Everything's fake. Even the tomahawk is rubber.
Yeah. I call tomahawk. And then he does no matter what happens, wherever happens, no matter what it takes, I will find you. And he's like,
Stay alive. Yeah. Last of the Mohicans.
Yeah.
But as the army descends upon them, I love that we get a whole section of Winston Duke doing a whole fight segment, and he just goes, Daniel Day-Lewis,
Yeah.
Jason Bourne, Dwayne The Rock. He's just calling out people's names.
I love when he does the fireman's carry to the toss and yells Dwayne The Rock Johnson,
Yeah.
and he does it. Oh, it's so good.
But Ryan Gosling is also fighting their way around. They kind of meet under the stairs. They have the phone, and one of the henchmen shoots the phone out of his hands.
Yes, that is yada-yadaing a lot of the fight.
Sure.
Which obviously, because this is a podcast, it's not an action movie, right?
Right.
But one of the things I noticed more on my second watch through is how much they set up the room
Yes.
to be made for the stunts
Yes.
that they're about to do. So like they know that there's a part where he moves the couches
Yes.
over a little bit so that he knows when he throws the guy off, the guy will land on the ground, and he knows that there's essentially a crash pad for him to land on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is like, it didn't click the first time I watched it. And then the second time I was like, oh, that's good.
Yeah. He's preparing to fight like it's a stunt, which I thought was great.
Yeah, they're using their knowledge.
Yeah.
And also
Yeah.
it's important to know stunt guys are generally, you have to know how to movie fight, but they do a lot of martial arts and boxing
Yes.
and stuff.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have to.
To sell it.
Yeah. If you need to do a taekwondo kick, you have to know taekwondo, right? And you
Yeah.
have to like do all these things, which it's such a great way to yada the fact that these guys are absolute ass kickers.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have to know that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and I do like that what this movie kind of does is presents this to you of like, okay, this is the guy that plays an action star. This is the dude that in the middle of the shit could kind of be an action star
Yeah.
because of what they know.
Like in real life.
Yes.
Like their job is to performatively be an action star, so they could sort of be an action star.
I tell you, I go to a boxing gym in LA, and like there are movie and television stars that go to this gym.
yeah.
And like they're doing that for one to stay in phenomenal shape because it's, you know, boxing. But for two, like they want to know how to fight. So when they need to do a realistic action scene, they don't need the stunt double for it.
Right. Because there is a weird point of pride in doing your own stunts. I mean, like that's a thing that Tom Cruise loves.
Yes. Important to note, Mario Lopez loves to spar, refuses to take any shots to the head.
Really? That doesn't surprise me. That is, I mean, the face is the moneymaker there.
I get it. Yeah.
But I know, but also like then don't spar.
Yeah, that's fair. Everyone loves to be like, oh, I do my own stunts. I really respect it when other people are like, I ain't doing that shit. Yeah, no, a stunt guy who's amazing did that shit, but it looks cool in the movie, right? I respect the hell out of that.
too.
I feel like that's the better option.
Yeah, so you ended up exorcisting your back.
It's also the safer option. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Anyway, so they have the gun that shoots blanks, but as he's firing it, it's looking like it's real and he's just missing, right? We know it's blanks because we've seen it. But the other guys don't know. So they're in a full-on shootout with real guns. They've shot the phone out of their hands. They get thrown through a poster for a movie called Road to Pain.
Yes. All the posters are unhinged.
Such a funny meta name for a movie to craft a crash through, yeah.
But not only that, not only is it Road to Pain, it is in the death-proof font and colors. They are basically thrown through a death-proof poster that says Road to Pain, a reference to one of the most dangerous stunts ever done on TV, or on a movie by Zoe Bell.
And a nod to how the film is going to end.
Yes. And one of, I want to say, maybe not the previous record holder for roles, but probably close.
Death proof, one would think, right?
Yeah. Anyway, so the bad guy gets the gun. He shoots at Ryan Gosling, who it seems like has been shot.
Yeah, 4 times in the chest.
Well, because it's the blanks.
Yes.
Yeah, so he just falls because he knows it's blanks.
Yeah. But also, this gives Dan a chance to get away with Jean-Claude the dog.
Yes.
But because it's blanks, he waits till the guy walks away, and then he gets up and goes to jump onto the yacht. Unfortunately, guess who else is on the yacht? Ryder and the rest of them, who are like, well, now you know too much and we've got to kill you.
I do love when he's going to do that jump.
Yeah.
He like is running towards it. He's like, no, okay, that's too far. There's got to be stairs. And then they actually start shooting actual guns because the guy who had the blanks realizes they're blanks. And so he like then has to go do the jump. But yeah, he like lands and there's the guy he's been looking for this whole time on the yacht next door to where he was already living.
Very funny that it's just
I know,
right outside.
It literally was next door to where he was.
When he landed and he showed him, I was like, yep, that was what I was waiting for.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was this specific reveal in this specific scene. As soon as he did that, I was like,
on the yacht. I knew it was the yacht, too.
Aaron Taylor Johnson's going to be on that yacht.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do love that they call out that they're like, you're just torturing me out in the open next to your yacht like a Bond villain.
Yeah.
Which is great. But this right here, this and the ensuing after, like the boat chase and everything after, this is the end of your act 2. Because that's what I meant by this movie is structured really strangely, because this is about 20 to 30 minutes too late in an action movie for the end of Act 2, and it doesn't connect to the love story as much. It will once we get to the chase, but this is more of the murder story.
Yeah.
So we're actually resolving like an end of Act 1 problem at the end of Act 2, but we're not resolving our Act 2 problem until much further into Act 3. We will get to it. But that's why this movie is 2 hours instead of 90 minutes, and why the extended cut is about 2.5 hours instead of 2 hours.
Yeah.
At 2 hours, I don't feel like it's paced bad. I never felt like it was slow.
Watch the extended cut. It's awesome. It's more stunts, really.
I mean, that's cool. That's the best part of this movie is the stunts.
I agree. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Anyway, they're asking him, where's the phone? Where's the phone? Where's the phone? And I think in this moment that he is hedging his bets on, I know I can escape. I know what I can do. I know what they're going to try and do because they're dumb and they're just going to do what the movie version of this is. So he tells them that the phone has been shot and that it's in the room. And they're like, well, yeah, that was the only reason you were keeping it alive. And he's like, yeah, okay. But like, you don't do your own stunts, so you don't understand what I am about to do. But this is also where we find out that they're going to take the scan of his face and put it on the murder video.
Yeah.
And he's like, we have different ideas of what simple is, which is great.
Just so I can put a button on it, This is the scene where there actually is some extra stuff. So we see the bellhop who was like order the fruit plate through, like Kevin, I think was his name.
Okay.
We see the drug dealer guy, and they both get like bags over their heads, and then it's implied that they're shot in the back of the boat.
Okay.
But that's all you're missing in this scene. And it does sort of amp up the tension and like, oh my God, they really might kill Ryan Gosling, which of course they won't. But
They're willing to kill whoever they can to protect this dude's career. Yeah.
right.
I mean, I figured they would have anyway,
Yeah,
so
me too.
I can see why they cut that.
Yeah.
I don't see it as necessary.
I don't think you need it. It's funny-ish because it gives you more of like the Tom Ryder character who is like unhinged and funny to me, but
Yeah.
it doesn't, you don't need it.
I mean, oddly enough, another way you could have done this is to have Ryan Gosling be like, you wouldn't kill me. And they'd be like, really? And then to see henchmen dumping what look like body bags off the side of the yacht. That would have also done it.
That would have been very funny. Yeah.
Or you just see it like the top of the garbage bag has like the head in it and you just see the like leopard print and that like signifies who that is. You know what I'm saying?
But also that they float because they didn't weigh them down because they're dumb. They're not.
Of course they're
They're not
idiots.
good villains.
Yeah.
Well, that's why there's like tactical dudes to like make up for how stupid Aaron Taylor Johnson is.
Yeah. But they're about to burn him alive and they start pouring gasoline and he yells, help. And in a moment, I was like, why is he yelling? To put gasoline in his mouth to spit it at somebody.
Yeah, because they shut him up by pouring gasoline in his mouth.
That's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
Because he then becomes human blowtorch. He spits the gasoline at the guy. Everyone else is on fire. He escapes into another boat because he has already gotten out of the restraints because they're bad at knots and he's a stunt guy. And then we get an almost Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade level boat chase through this harbor.
I don't know if it's that impressive. I love this
That is one of my
scene,
favorite
But
ones.
like that's an immense scene that you just talked about.
The only reason this doesn't look quite as impressive as that is because it's shot in the night instead of the day.
I was gonna say that Indiana Jones thing, you see everything. It's just masterfully done. Yeah, it's so good.
and scored beautifully.
Yeah,
I gotta
so
go
good.
watch that movie.
Yeah.
Fucking great.
I mean, Last Crusade is so good.
Yeah,
It's probably my favorite.
It's my favorite Indiana Jones.
It's
too.
mine.
I know
Yeah.
everyone loves.
Yeah.
Now, this scene is actually, we have our, it's like emotional catharsis, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is how you trick men into getting in touch with their feelings.
yeah. This is where men get their therapy in this movie. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
because they're like expecting explosions, right? And then you get this scene where this guy's just like, look, as a stunt man, and you know, stunt is a pretty negligible term in this phrase because it's just like as a man, he's
It
like,
is. Yeah.
I'm supposed to keep everything quiet because people expect you to suffer through pain. That's what's expected from you as society
Yeah.
or expected from you at your job. And that I don't think you want me when I am the one who's not, because she does the thing about how the thumbs up is, she's like, it's really annoying that you guys do that. And he's like, yeah, there's a reason you never see a thumbs down.
It's like juvenile and douchey is what she says.
right.
Yeah, she's like, you never see a thumbs down because
The thumbs down guy never gets a call.
Yeah.
yes,
Exactly.
and it's like, and so I didn't think you'd. And when he says he delivers that, like, I didn't think you would ever want to be with the thumbs down version of me. That to me, this is the best dialogue in the film.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's not even close. There's nothing in the rest of this movie that can come a fraction of the quality and just great structure and beautiful sort of delivery as that one specific bit, because it's perfect for everybody who sees it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it does a really good job of course, using the stunt guy metaphor or like the stunt guy stand-in for like what all of society expects from men. I think it does a really good job of sort of explaining how you end up as someone who is not like super in touch with your emotions or feelings because society tells you not to be. I've had to do a lot of work in therapy around that specifically.
I mean, I have found myself in scenarios where, like, in both things where, like, if I have been too emotionally open, it's been a turnoff.
Or you get made fun of for it,
Like,
or yeah.
that happens. Or times when I have been faced with that same exact thing he said, where it's like, I wasn't feeling my best. I was unhappy. I didn't think that you deserved this version of me. You didn't need to be bogged down by this version of me. So I had to leave in order to preserve I'd rather suffer alone than have you have to bear the brunt of that suffering.
Yeah, suffer in silence. Yeah.
That's such a structurally, and lots of people do that. Of course, women suffer in silence
Oh,
all the time.
yeah.
That's a whole fucking thing.
I don't necessarily think this is like only guys go through this. I think it could be. I think it's specifically someone who like withdraws within themselves in times of crisis. People who you might call are avoidant and dismissive. And that's what I am. That's why I like this movie so much. Because like that is the trajectory of like when this kind of stuff happens to me.
Look, I recently
like
walked away from something where somebody was, and I was like, look, I need to step away because I don't need you to see me how I'm about to be. Like I have just been bodied and I can't let you see the version of me that's about to happen in the car.
Yeah.
Like I need to remove myself so that you don't remember me as a blubbering mass of humanity. And like, it is one of those things where I'm like, even afterwards, I'm like, maybe if I had stayed, things would have been different. Maybe if I had stayed and talked it out. And it's like, but also like there is that barrier that is, maybe that's toxic.
Oh, it definitely is. It is.
Maybe that's the form of toxicity that I have, or like, cause it seemed like there was no chance. So that being said, this scene was so intensely cathartic for me.
Yeah.
Because I have been there, and I think a lot of people have. And it's fucking rough, man.
I know, man. I cried a little bit in this scene. I liked it.
I mean, look, not for nothing, but after that, I left when that breakup happened. I went home and turned on Good Will Hunting and then Warrior.
Fuck.
And watched those two movies in a row.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I need to give myself permission to lose my fucking shit.
Yeah, and just like cry your eyes out. Yeah.
And it's not your fault.
Right.
Yes.
And then 90 minutes later, I'm sorry. I love you, Tommy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like those two, it looked like I pissed the bed. I was watching that movie in my room and just soaked the sheets in my emotions.
Why does the liquid start at your neck?
Why are my eyes coming? I don't get it.
I mean, as someone in what I will say a very healthy, loving relationship, you gotta do what he does here. You gotta open up to people and be like, here's how I'm feeling.
Yeah, you got to be vulnerable. It literally is. This is something that I've had to work on in therapy so much, but it literally is depriving the person that you think is awesome and amazing, the person you like want to be with, and are sort of protecting them from seeing you at a lowered state or like sad or whatever, but you're depriving them of the opportunity to be the awesome person you know they are.
Yeah.
Like it sucks. Like, but it is, I've done this. It's terrible, but I've done this and it's like very self-defeating prophecy kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's taking yourself out of the running before the race starts because, and I've talked about something kind of similar to this of like assuming someone doesn't like you when they have not said that. It is the same mind game of like, you're assuming that this person won't be the supportive, awesome thing that you need in this moment because you're afraid if they won't be. And here's the thing. It's like, if they're not going to be, then they shouldn't be there anyway. And that's a clear-cut information for you. Like you shouldn't be afraid to open up to them in that way because they will very likely surprise you and be there for you. Yeah. And if they don't, then you know that they shouldn't be there in general.
And I do think she would have been.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Probably.
Anyway, yes, this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie too. And I was wondering how they were going to put this into words because I feel like in my watching of this movie, I was like, oh, he didn't want her to see him at his lowest. And so he nuked the relationship before she could. And I kind of always assumed that that's what it was. And he doesn't seem to articulate that until this scene with the thumbs up, thumbs down. And I was like, what a great way to articulate that to people who wouldn't necessarily understand that as clearly.
Yeah, that's the thumbs up is a man saying, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that really is like, no, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
Well, and I also love that he's like, all of it hurts. Being set on fire hurts. The car, it all hurts.
Yeah. All these things hurt.
I do love that the shots of her hearing this are shot against her watching the dailies. And it's actually a very cool shot because we get an orange versus blue lighting and color kind of shift, which is very fun.
Yeah.
But also in the background, we see them fighting in the fake movie with the guitar things. And it looks so goofy. It's great.
It is great.
And again, this is actually this scene very important too, because the intent is he is about to die.
Yep.
Potentially.
Yeah.
And the last thing that he wants to do is create and reestablish this connection and let this person know what's going on now that he's faced that. This does sort of remind me a little bit of at a different time in the relationships, though, in Good Will Hunting, when he is in jail and he uses his one phone call to call the girl that gave him her phone number, because he's like, in this moment, my priority is to talk to this person.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was like, there's all this chaos potentially happening around them, and yet they are trying to find peace in this person that they are talking to. And I do find that very sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It almost gets him killed. But yeah, it is very sweet.
We knew he wasn't going to die because he
Right.
sees that like flaming thing and he's like, I got this shit. He hangs up, the boat jumps through the fire and they're like, he's definitely dead. And we're all like, nah. But he does swim out of his Miami Vice jacket. I'm sad he didn't get to keep that. But that is him shedding his old persona of not being open and vulnerable with his feelings and just being the stunt guy and not the open person, and swimming into a new relationship.
Yeah.
Metaphor.
It's great. I agree.
This is the end of Act 2, where we're like, is he dead? Is he not? We know he's not.
It does kind of feel like everything after this scene doesn't count as much.
Yes.
To me.
Yes.
Like the stakes have now, like, I get why they do that. And this is clearly the best chunk of dialogue, the best character work we get the whole time.
Yeah.
And so now they're like, well, now we have to figure out how to, like, it's Ocean's 11.
Yes.
Seeing the heist at the end is not as exciting as seeing how they're building up and all the stress they're going through. It's just at the end, you're like, well, now they have to finish the movie. Like, that to me, when I'm seeing that scene, I'm like, okay, now they just have to finish the movie.
Well, you could argue that they have a third act problem, and that at one point in the movie, they decided, what if we just turned to the camera and said that we have a third act problem?
Yeah.
And in fact, they do.
Yeah.
And they say, why don't you do this jump?
Yeah. Because this is the emotional core of the movie. This is what we care most about. But we've set up all these chess pieces that we have to resolve. And so he comes back. He hides in the same robot alien with the wife thing, which is very fun. Comes into her trailer. They have a fight scene that takes too long.
Because she doesn't know it's him.
Yeah.
And she sort of kicks his ass. Like,
She does stab
stabs
him with a pen.
Like, later in the movie, he's still limping from the pen stab.
Yeah, it hurt.
It's so prolonged and so
It's very long, though.
egregiously funny.
Yes.
It is hysterical, but it is very long.
Because you're just watching it and you're like, all right, well, they're going to get to it. And then the ass kicking happens for so much longer than it's supposed to.
Yes.
Which is like a very funny.
Yes, it is.
But ultimately, he reveals who he is, and she's like, I knew you were alive. And he's like, yeah, of course, Miami Vice stunt show. Like, I got that shit. But he then fills her in on everything that has happened, and that Gail is in on it. And they're like, well, what are we going to do? Because at this point, they both have what I will call competing priorities because they love each other. Because he wants her movie to happen. This is the movie that she's worked so hard. He doesn't want it to go wrong. He wants it to happen.
Yes.
She's like, fuck the movie. We got to get back at the people who tried to kill you.
Yeah.
And they're like,
What if we do both?
¿Por qué no los dos?
Yeah.
Why not both? This is the screenwriter being like, different motivations.
Yeah.
How do we solve all the problems? This movie is already almost 2 hours long.
Yeah.
And I have 15 minutes for a whole act.
Yeah.
Which is where we're at right now.
And she literally at the end says, I only need you for 15 minutes.
Yep.
Yes.
To Aaron Taylor Johnson, which is very funny.
Yep.
It is a very good, there's this very great sort of thing in there where his form of chivalry is being like, I need to make sure you get your movie done.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, that's his big chivalrous sacrifice, is just like, you can't miss out on this opportunity because you might never have this opportunity again. I'm already in the position I'm in.
Yeah.
Right. I love it for two reasons. One, in rom-coms, way too often women give up their dreams
Yes.
for their air quotes dream guy, and it's bullshit, and I hate it.
And this is him supporting her dream and realizing that she is special and that she has it's such a unique opportunity. Like, there are so many directors who probably could direct at that level that will never get the opportunity to. So, like, even the fact that she got the opportunity to is nuts. So you gotta see that through.
It's worse than that because she's a woman directing at this level, which is less than 1%.
That's exactly what I was saying. Yeah. It's crazy that she got this opportunity.
Yeah, it's not even
Yeah.
just that she's getting to direct this level. It's any movie.
Yes.
Literally any movie.
It is crazy that they would let a woman direct literally any movie.
They should,
You're
but
right,
they
Paige.
don't. Yeah.
You convinced both Jeff and I, who were very big fans of Sofia Coppola before this, but now you're right.
Yeah, I'm on Team Page.
I like that that's the only one you can name off the top of your your head.
What?
Sofia Coppola.
That was just the first one. I don't know. Like, yeah.
Here's all I will say. The movie is definitely also making that statement of it is rare for a woman to be in this position at all. And hers is tenuous because of this. And he knows that. And she's willing to give it all up for him. And he's like, no.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
We're going to explode more shit and solve problems that way.
And they
That's
do.
great.
Yeah, we need more stunts.
More stunts.
Which, fair.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here. Let's do it.
The third act stunt is great because they decide that they're like, oh, I get it. We're going to make him do his own stunts because we have revealed earlier in the movie that he never remembers that he's mic'd, which all the worst actors forget they're mic'd.
Him and Robert Durst. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Robert Durst for sure. But it's notorious. Like, if you haven't heard an actor piss in the like set bathroom because they forgot they were mic'd, you have not worked on a movie.
Paige, I haven't worked on, I've done like 48-hour film festivals. Like I'm not working like movie sets. And
that's happened to you a bunch, I'm sure.
no, I've been the person that's done that.
I don't know if I've ever brought it up on this show, but I did have a TV show that was supposed to happen.
Right.
And I was mic'd up on there and I knew I was mic'd up and I had to pee. So I was just talking to the sound guy while I was pissing. And I was just like, piss, piss, piss. Hey there, sound guy. I'm just drowning out the sound of my piss. And like going through all that because I was like, I don't think you want to hear my piss. So instead, here's a song about him hiding my piss.
I honestly, I would appreciate that.
I came out and he was laughing pretty hard about it. So that was funny.
Anyway, so they're going to do both. They're going to try and get him to confess by making him do his own stunt while he's on mic so that they can get the confession out of him. So they set up this whole, like, he's going to fake it and it's blue screen. But then Ryan Gosling hops into the seat next to him, buckles him in, puts his wheel on, and then they drop the blue screen and thus ensues a fucking melee.
It's awesome.
Hell yeah.
For about 15 minutes of this movie.
From here on out, it is like just action and campy, like crazy shit. It's fun.
We do also get Aaron Taylor Johnson's insane monologue for this crazy movie.
The script is so bad. It's so funny.
It's so bad. And we get the Dune music while it's happening because we're watching it like as a movie.
It's great.
But yeah, so the stunt melee happens. And I do love that in the car, Ryan Gosling is like, Colt, whatever his last name is.
Yes, he keeps using like proper nouns. Like, yeah.
You, Tom Ryder, did. Yeah.
Isn't that right, Tom Ryder?
Yeah. Why do you keep saying my name?
Why do you keep saying my name? Because that's your name, isn't it, Tom Ryder?
It would be totally impossible for anyone to hear anything other than Tom Ryder because of how famous you are. Like,
right.
But he's so dumb. He's like, yes, I am Tom Ryder. And then openly admits
to murder,
to killing multiple people. Or I guess he frames it as, and I wondered if it was in this cut for you. He sort of explains it like, I'm just a really like meta actor. So like I really sink into it.
That's not in our cut.
No, that's not in our cut. Yeah.
Yeah. So like what he's saying in the extended cut, I thought was hilarious. He was like, yeah, I was just like acting like I was ordering the hits. It's not my fault that people actually acted on me just practicing my acting. It was very funny.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's not the version we get.
That's actually a pretty good little bit.
Yeah.
That is. The version we get is he's like, it was an accident. I called Gail. She set everything up because she wanted to cover it up. That's basically all we get.
I mean, I think he actually does eventually get to that in the cut I watched too, but there's like this whole long, like silly explanation. It's very funny.
But Gail realizes that they've gotten it on tape and the sound guy has it. So she goes and grabs literally the mixer.
Yeah, she grabs like the whole, like the DAT recorder kind of a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And goes and gets on a helicopter and they go and pick up Aaron Taylor Johnson on a helicopter too. And at this point I was like, Ryan Gosling's going to hang off the bottom of that helicopter.
Oh, right. You're like, that was even in the trailer.
It was.
Yeah.
Aaron Taylor Johnson also is unconscious after the jump.
Oh, that's right. Because they do the jump and he doesn't have a mouthpiece.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he doesn't have a mouthpiece. So if you guys don't know about that, like cushioning the impacting blow is what causes concussions.
Yeah.
So like that's part of it too. And you can lose teeth. I do love how the mouth guard is such an important part that one would never think of.
Right.
In the real world. Yeah.
I also love that every time he has it in his mouth, they make the script make him say the most S sounds they can.
Yes, S
like it's
sounding.
the only time you ever see him refer to anyone else as sir is when he has that in his mouth. And it's gotta be just for the whole lisp of it all. It's so funny.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, but of course he hangs off the bottom of the helicopter a bunch, kicks people through the helicopters, and then under him they're like, get the airbag in place. So they're like driving, knowing that he's going to fall off that helicopter.
I love that they're dragging an airbag around.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's very funny, yeah.
I also love that, like, as she's driving the camera rig and someone's driving the car that's like gonna throw him over to the helicopter, he's like, hey, let's go maybe do that date we talked about doing 18 months ago, or trip or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting spicy margaritas on the beach. Yeah.
And make some bad decisions, right? And then they're like, yeah, let's do it if you don't die right now.
Right.
And then throw him like at a helicopter.
That's such a Vince Vaughn line to sneak in, by the way, make some
Yes.
bad decisions. Like,
Yeah.
that's like one of my favorite things is when he would shoehorn that phrase into like every movie.
I don't know if it was we just did Freaky, which if you have not seen Freaky,
Great, delightful film.
so wonderful.
Really enjoyed it, yeah.
Anyway, so he gets the recording and he just flips them off and falls onto the bag.
Man, when he flips them off and just
Yeah.
drops in slow motion, I was like,
I was made to love it. And I'm just fist pumping.
I fucking loved it. It was so good. It was great.
Yeah, it was a perfect finish.
Yeah.
It's a lot, it was a lot like Chris Pratt in when he flips off Thanos and jumps through the portal in Infinity War.
Yeah, yeah.
And at first I was like, oh, great, this is the end. And they're like together and maybe he has a stunt company, whatever. Metal Storm does really well. But then we get the trailer with Jason Momoa.
They just completely reshot the whole movie, or maybe just deep fake Jason Momoa into it.
They might have just deep faked it, or just because we see the same stunt,
We do.
the role, so
Yes.
maybe they just But it is showing in Hall H at Comic-Con, which
Yeah.
is great,
I love how Jean-Claude is there too. Do you see Jean-Claude was there, the dog?
with the glasses.
Oh, Jean-Claude's in his little outfit. Yeah.
Yes, I loved it. It was so cute. He actually gets adopted by them at the end, it's implied, which I love.
Yes, because he's in the truck with them.
Yes.
And it's implied, has his own stunt company, Fall Guy Stunts.
Yeah.
And that would be the movie.
Right.
Except the credits show how all those stunts happen, and I highly recommend watching it.
Yeah. And then there's a post-credits scene with Lee Majors.
Yes.
Oh, I missed this maybe.
So like, yeah, they put Lee Majors in there as, because that's who it was, right? Lee Majors, the Fall Guy.
I think so. The original Fall Guy, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
And he's there, and basically he's arresting Hannah Waddingham's character.
Oh, that's great.
And then Aaron Taylor Johnson runs out, tries to get away from the cops, runs into a pyro field of where the explosives are. He's calling his agent. He finally finds 3 bars, and then he explodes.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
So he dies.
You missed that part. Yeah.
I missed that completely.
Yeah, you missed the post-credits scene.
That is a little bit of what was kind of missing for me, was him calling his agent, which is a huge part of Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
Is the agent.
And it's McConaughey.
And it's McConaughey and piss baby actor relationship. Very fun.
And that's the movie. So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, what'd you guys think about The Fall Guy?
Great stunts.
Yep, it was a beautiful movie. It was a fun thing to watch. I will wipe it from my memory and then I'll watch it again. What I'm looking forward to doing, and I haven't done this yet, is watching it high.
Oh, I bet it's great high.
Ooh, I will do that. I haven't yet, but I will do that.
I very much there are movies that I do not love sober.
Sure.
That are the greatest films I've ever seen when I'm high.
Temple of Doom.
The Room.
I would say the greatest movie that I've ever seen stoned was Pirates of the Caribbean 2.
Oh, I bet that fucking slaps.
The Ferris wheel fight where they're fighting on the wheel.
Yes, where he's running on the top.
Guys, sound off in the Facebook group what action movies you like to watch high.
What action movies do you like to watch high?
So, Paige, what did you think of The Fall Guy?
Again, great stunts. I will watch it anytime I really feel like having a good time.
Yeah.
No, it's shot incredible. As far as an in-joke movie for the industry, very, very fun. The stunts are amazing. It makes me want to go watch other great stunt movies.
You mean like other great movies that have great stunts?
Yes.
I understand. Yeah, I agree. I think like when I said Ronin,
yes,
because a lot of like the car stuff in this reminded me of Ronin. Heat is another great one, right?
Oh man, I got to watch Heat again.
Very good movies that have great action, right?
I'm like, I got to go watch Baby Driver. Like
the way they sync the music in that one is also so good.
Yeah, amazing.
And I don't know, for me, you guys know I loved this movie. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
Loved the metaphor of it all.
Yeah.
Yes.
Loved it. And I also loved the like long shots to build the tension of the like the action, like the sequence when he's about to do a stunt. I love that stuff.
I like this movie like I like Dr. Pepper. Like, ask me about it and I'm going to tell you that I like it a lot.
Sure.
But I'm not going to have it very often and I know exactly what it it's doing to me as I'm consuming it.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
No, absolutely. Anyway, Paige, do you have some fun facts for us?
I do.
Well, hit us with your fun facts. Fall Guy, fun facts.
As we mentioned, the reference to stuntmen or stunt people not receiving Oscars is a direct comment on the movie. So the reason they've been given for not having a stunt Oscar is that the award ceremony is already too long. And I'm like, whose fault is that?
Also, they just gave an award for breakdancing, right? Oh, wait, that was the Olympics. Never mind. Sorry.
That was the Olympics.
My bad.
They have also said that a Best Stunts Oscar might prompt stunt teams to go to more extreme and unsafe lengths to win the award. I say that's bullshit.
Nope. Not at all.
Yeah, that's not how that will work at all, because I feel like stunt teams are overly concerned with safety, and they should be.
That's their job. Yeah.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
So Ryan Gosling, after this movie came out, happened to run into Steven Spielberg, and Steven Spielberg loved this movie. And so Ryan Gosling has said, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care what anyone else says. He liked that movie. I'm really excited for people to see it.
There you go.
There you go.
He actually had the same reaction when I told him I liked The Nice Guys. He was like, I don't care what the critics say. Todd likes it.
So Ryan Gosling, publicly open about it, had 8 different stunt doubles for this movie. You see all of them in the credits.
I was going to say that.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, they're all listed. You see him taking a photo with all of them. Yeah.
Now, the film within a film, Metal Storm, is actually inspired by a real film from 1983 called Metal Storm.
No, what? Hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Metal Storm, The Destruction of Jared Sin. The entire concept, costumes, and desert setting and car-based stunts are from that movie, which has been described by many as Star Wars meets Mad Max.
That makes sense.
So the tagline, "It's high noon at the end of the universe," is also the tagline from Metal Storm in 1983.
That's awesome.
I wonder how much they had to like pay for the rights to do that.
They did, but also that same tagline has also been used for the production of Oblivion 2 Backlash from 1996. So high noon at the end of the universe has been used multiple times. I think it's funny because that is the exact like nonsense log line that studios love.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a good ass line.
It's a great line. It means nothing.
I would also like to add that Tom Cruise is in a movie called Oblivion that is unbelievably great.
That is a great movie.
We've actually talked about it on this show because Mikey and I both loved that movie.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
He did that and he did Edge of Tomorrow back to back.
Yeah.
Edge of Tomorrow, I would argue, is maybe a romance movie.
It is, kind of.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but it's a romance with Emily Blunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's fighting to get back to her. That is a great movie.
It's kind of like this movie.
It's kind of like this movie. But yeah, so high noon at the end of the universe. Now, Chris O'Hara received a credit for the crew position of stunt designer, which is believed to be the first credit of its kind. The role of stunt designer is meant to acknowledge the high-level artistic contribution of the traditional stunt coordinator role and recognize the creative partnership within the stunts industry along with the other producers and writers working on the film. Basically saying this is like being a set designer or an artistic designer or a visual designer on a film because your stunts have that same impact. So that's actually a very cool thing that is new.
Oh, great.
This movie starts it.
I wonder if the Golden Globe started doing like a stunt category, if the Oscars would finally follow suit.
I mean,
Not to derail us, but like...
no. The Oscars are very pretentious.
I know.
Yeah. They're up their own ass. Yeah.
They're up their own ass because the Golden Globes has actually changed a lot of things about
That's why,
how they put awards out, and the Oscars have done none of it. So
Yeah.
I don't think it would matter.
Yeah, the Oscars, what was their last change? 1992? When they were like, when did they add animated feature?
No, there's actually been a change since then, but animated feature is 1992.
It was after Beauty and the Beast got nominated for Best Picture.
Yes, which is 1992.
Yeah.
And almost wins it, by the way. Like, if you go back and watch Beauty and the Beast, it's a beautiful film. Like, it's really well done.
It's wonderful. Yeah. Except for he looks like Michael Bolton at the end of the movie, but like, yeah.
That's the one downside. Anyway, they made a change about 5, 6, maybe a little more years ago where they expanded the amount of films in a category.
Yeah.
But then they immediately reverted it.
Oh, yeah, they made it up to 10, right?
Yeah, they put it up to 10, and then they haven't necessarily held to that in years past.
That was because of The Dark Knight, wasn't it?
It was because of The Dark Knight.
Yeah, or at least it was concurrently. Collation, not necessarily causation, but yeah.
Right, and I think a lot of that was also due to people wanted to award Heath Ledger
Posthumously.
for essentially a lifetime of work posthumously because of Dark Knight, which I do think he is phenomenal in.
Yeah.
This movie has actually been in development since 2010.
No shit.
Yes, and it's been through a number of leading men. Tom Cruise being one of them, Keanu Reeves,
Of course.
Nicolas Cage, Jason Statham. I would have fucking killed to watch that version. And Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
I could definitely, based upon various times between 2010 and now, seen when, who would have been slated for which one.
I would say that Statham does deadpan comedy better than anybody else that was brought up there.
Yes.
Agreed.
I would have loved to see him do the whole thing where he has to put on wigs
Yes.
to do that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Much like in Hitman, where we got Glenn Powell doing it.
Yeah.
One of the post-it notes that none of us seem to have caught that I think is hilarious, but in the apartment, one of the post-it notes says, "Pirate download Bullet Train," which is hysterical because
so
he was
funny.
in Bullet Train.
Yeah.
So Emily Blunt has said that she partially based her character on Greta Gerwig, explaining that with the warmth and the charm, I guess there's a little bit of Greta Gerwig in there. She also dresses like her.
She does.
Where she's wearing like boiler suits the whole time.
Yeah, like the jumper and stuff. Yeah.
I'll end on this one because my head is killing me. One of the post-it notes that we also missed said, quote, "Pretend went to Juilliard."
That's so funny.
And those are your fun facts.
Well, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. What do you guys think the production budget was for The Fall Guy?
Oh, this was expensive.
I would say 180 million.
Okay, Paige.
I was going to say 200.
It's a little bit less. It's still a lot. It's 125 million.
This looks good for 125 million, actually.
I agree. There's so much stunt work in this, and a lot of it is practical. So, it is well done. Anyway, so this movie came out on May 3rd of this year, so 2024. It was number one the week it came out. It beat the number two movie was Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Oh, God.
Which was appearing back in theaters again. Number 3 was Challengers. Number 4 was Taro. And number 5 was Godzilla X Kong, the new empire, I guess.
It's the American Godzilla track.
Yeah. Anyway, what do you think The Fall Guy brought in its opening weekend?
Opening weekend, I'm going to say this brought in 60 mil.
Oh,
I was going to say mine's too close, so I'll change it to 69 mil.
nice.
Nice.
Unfortunately, it's way less than that. It was $27.7 million. It went on to make $92 million domestically. Almost 93. It was 92.9. It also made $88 million internationally for a total of $180.9 million. So it made money. I'm sure they had hoped it'd make more, but
It probably didn't make money, though, after.
After marketing.
oh yeah, I know. I don't know. I mean, only based on the budget, it made money. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of movies like this double their budget in marketing spend.
Yeah.
So if they did that with this, and I do remember seeing trailers, posters.
Oh, there was huge billboards all
Yeah.
over town.
Yeah.
They sponsored sporting events and stuff.
Yeah. So I would not be shocked to see this had spent 180, 125 even on marketing.
Yeah, this was like a roughly $200 million movie, all
Yeah.
things considered, conservatively.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's your box office. Paige, you want to hit us with that romance scale?
Sure, our romance scale is a scale of 1 to 4. Todd, where are you putting this one?
On a 1 to 4, probably a 2. They don't not have
Yeah.
chemistry, but there's not a lot of chemistry because we don't see it.
Right.
It's just not, they're not at that stage in their relationship yet.
All right, Jeff.
On a scale of 1 to 4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it'd have to be 2 because there's some there, but we don't get the classic meet cute on a rom-com. They start in the thing and then it falls apart and then they have to rebuild
It's
it,
about them getting back together. Yeah.
which gives
Yeah.
us, it's the anti-version of The Breakup, which is a movie that was for nobody.
Oh, God, that movie was terrible.
We did that one. It was terrible. But Paige, what do you give it on the romance scale?
I'd probably give it a 1.5.
Okay.
Maybe 2 for that speech, I would say. That
Yeah.
speech really is what pushes it into 2. And that's your romance scale.
Yeah, baby. So this week I made you guys watch The Fall Guy. Paige, as we kick off October, I decided to sort of take over the month because Natalie and I are getting married on the 16th. We actually leave to go elope in Mexico on the 13th. And I thought because we're doing a destination wedding that we might want to spend some time in October doing destination wedding movies or plots that surround a wedding that people have to travel to go be at. And then also because Natalie's awesome and I want to have her on an episode the week of the 16th. The episode will actually come out the 17th. We're going to do one of her favorite movies that's also a rom-com, and she will be guesting. But for next week, I'm going to make you guys watch a movie I've wanted to watch for a while because everyone said it was awesome when it came out, and I put it off because I wanted to watch it for this podcast, and that movie is Crazy Rich Asians. We're finally going to do it. So guys, everyone, your homework for next week is to watch Crazy Rich Asians as we gear up for destination wedding / congrats, Todd's getting married month. Also, Paige and Jake are having their 5-year anniversary the same week. Natalie and I are getting married. So there you go. Destination wedding and maybe even anniversary celebrations to include Paige and Jake. So that's the reason for the theme. So let's watch Crazy Rich Asians for next week. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for joining us for the Fall Guy episode. Can you tell people where they can find more of what you do?
Great. I love this. Thank you to the 8% of listeners that are still listening during the plugs part. I always love to see that. I do a lot of really great, really fun podcasts on my own network. I do a show called Jeff Has Cool Friends, which you have all been on.
We have.
You guys, not you all listening. That would be insane.
That'd be too many episodes.
I did do a horror virgin episode. I love to sort of talk to my friends that I think are really interesting.
Yeah.
You can get it anywhere under Jeff Has Cool Friends, or you can go to patreon.com/JeffMay for early access to uncensored episodes with bonus content, as well as early access to shows like Nerd with Dre Alvarez, as well as exclusives like Ugg Fine with Kim Crawl. I do a show called Tom and Jeff Watch Batman on Gamefully Unemployed, and I do a lot of stuff with Adam Todd Brown, formerly of Cracked. I don't know if you guys, we talked about that, Todd, in the past, right?
Love Cracked. Back in his heyday, like when Adam Todd Brown was on it. That was the good times.
Show used to be called Unpopular Opinion, and now it's called You Don't Even Like This Show. I do that. I do You Don't Even Like Sports. Lots of great stuff. I also open packs of cards on YouTube, which is like my favorite thing I do. I love all the stuff I do, but like I love just on Wednesday afternoons opening packs of trading cards on camera. It is so fun. And that YouTube account is @JeffHasCoolCards. And just such a silly, fun little thing that God, it's so fun.
Nice.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's a blast. I can't wait to talk more about this stuff and do another 9-hour episode with you guys. Last thing I will say, of course, is that I do a live comedy show the second Friday of every month at Blast from the Past on Magnolia in Burbank. Paige has done it multiple times, has murdered. It's so fun. The show's called Mint on Card, and it is a blast.
Check it out, guys.
Yeah. Do you have any reviews for us, Todd?
I do. I'm going to start off with a Spotify comment, though. And this one's from our most recent episode on This Means War. And Jessica S. said, Paige sounds like a voice actress from a 40s cartoon decades later on a documentary when she's finally ready to talk about the wild things that happened in Hollywood at the time.
Yeah. That's fair. And I also realize I still don't sound 100% better, and it's been weeks.
It has been weeks.
So,
you do sound way better, though, Paige.
I do sound way better. I can't hear it, but allegedly other people say it sounds better.
But if you want to hear me read your 5-star review or Spotify comment, leave us an Apple 5-star review or Spotify comment, and I will do just that. So yeah, if you guys like this show and want to hear our other show where we talk about horror movies, that is The Horror Virgin. That's the only other podcast I am on, but Paige is also on Cult Podcast, which you can find at Cult Podcast. And you can find us on social media. I am at Todd J. Awesome, literally everywhere. Paige is at Paige Wesley on Instagram.
No, it's at Rampage Wesley on Instagram and TikTok, at Paige Wesley on Twitter.
That's right. All right. So that's where you can find Paige. If you want to find the show, we are at Romancing the Pod Show, right?
Yep. Romancing Pod Show on Twitter.
Well, and Instagram, right?
And Instagram, but it's show SHO because character limits. If you start typing Romancing the Pod, it'll come up.
It'll definitely come up on Instagram. I don't know about Twitter because I haven't posted on Twitter in a hot ass minute. So like, who knows? But that is where you can find more of us. So yeah, guys, give us a follow. Support the show any way you can. We'd love it.
Smash that like button.
Hell yeah.
And that's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
And I'm Todd.
And you complete us.
To completion. Bye. This is my favorite movie of 2024, nerds.
La 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 la.